Hello, everyone. Welcome to this marathon session. So we are going to talk about British literature today. We are going to talk about British literature today. Chapters 1 to 7 is what we are going to do in the first half hour. Okay, everyone. This is for the NET exam that is coming up on 5th of June. Sorry, 5th of Jan. Now you have been having paper 1 marathon sessions already. Remember that paper 1 questions might be a little lengthy. At least some questions will be unexpected. You should not get worried. Okay? Don't leave too many questions till the end. Answer the questions as much as you can. And if you get big questions, read carefully. Do not go for the extreme answers if you don't know them. Try to think analytically and mark with a clear head, without getting anxious, without getting worried. Right? Okay. There will be some questions from British literature. Let us hope that all the questions will be from our revision classes. In the exam, there may be some authors and texts that you don't know very well, but those are only confusing questions. Don't get worried about it. In the options also, there will be names that you never heard before. Those are probably distractors. So don't get worried. If there are familiar names, most probably that may be the answer. That may be the answer. When you see distractors, don't think, oh, tough question, I never heard this before. Instead, think clearly and positively. Tell yourself, I know this answer. I can answer this question. Right. So shall we start from the Greco-Roman period? I will start with the easiest questions and we'll do tough questions also. Do you know who wrote Orestia? Everybody, who wrote Orestia? Of course, it is Aeschylus. Okay, Aeschylus wrote the Persians, true or false? Aeschylus wrote the Persians. Is it true or false? Yes, it is true. Aeschylus wrote Prometheus Unbound. Is it true or false? False. Prometheus Bound is by Aeschylus. Prometheus Unbound is by Shelley. Isn't it? Very good. Now, you know about Iliad and Odyssey, isn't it? Charles Frazier wrote a novel based on Odyssey. Do you know which is that novel? Charles Frazier wrote a novel based on Odyssey. Which is that novel? Charles Frazier's Cold Mountain. It's a contemporary novel based on Odyssey. Charles Frazier wrote Cold Mountain, okay, based on Odyssey. Very good. Did James Joyce write anything based on Odyssey? Yes, James Joyce wrote Ulysses based on Odyssey. Very good. Okay, if I say that Robert Fagles is a translator of Homer, am I right? Robert Fagles is a translator of Homer. Yes, Robert Fagles translated for Penguin, Iliad and Odyssey. Is George Chapman a translator of Homer? Yes, George Chapman also translated Homer. Did Alexander Pope translate Homer? Yes, Alexander Pope also translated Homer. Was E.F. Watling, W-A-T-L-I-N-G, E.F. Watling, was he a translator of Greek classics like Oedipus? Watling, yes. Watling was also a translator of Oedipus. Very good, guys. You're going strong. Now, David Malouf is an Australian writer who wrote Ransom. Do you know whether this Ransom was based on any Greco-Roman classic? David Malouf's Ransom is based on Iliad, which is David Malouf's novel based on Ovid's life, which is David Malouf's novel based on Ovid's life, that is indeed, an imaginary life. An imaginary life is correct. Was Lyceum associated with Plato? Was Lyceum associated with Plato? No, Lyceum is Aristotle's school, isn't it? Aristotle's school. Very good. Okay. Oedipus Rex, Antigone, then Agamemnon. Which of these plays was written first? Oedipus Rex, Antigone, Agamemnon. Agamemnon maybe, because it is part of Orestia, isn't it? And after that came Sophocles' Antigone. After that came Oedipus Rex. Very good, guys. Okay, do you remember who wrote the Penelopiad based on Homer? Do you know who wrote the Penelopiad? It is indeed Margaret Atwood. Remember, she also wrote Gertrude Talks Back. Gertrude Talks Back. Very good. You are going strong. Silence of the Girls and Women of Troy. After you tell me the answer, who wrote it, I will give you the clue. Silence of the Girls and Women of Troy. Remember, you are patting on the back, women. You know, women are doing good. You're patting them on the back. So women and girls, silently girls are sitting, but you're patting them on the back. So, you know, the author is Pat Barker. Pat Barker. Very good. Let me give you a statement. You should tell me whether it's true or false. Okay. Anthony Burgess translated Oedipus Rex. Anthony Burgess translated Oedipus the King. True or false? True or false? Anthony Burgess did translate Oedipus the King. Anthony Burgess did translate Oedipus the King. Now you know, isn't it? Very good. Do you know any other work by Anthony Burgess based on another novel? Anthony Burgess wrote 1985 based on 1984. Isn't it? 1985. Yeah, he also wrote A Clockwork Orange, which is the novel by Anthony Burgess where Shakespeare is the protagonist. Shakespeare is the protagonist. It is nothing like the sun. Nothing like the sun. Very good. If I say Benjamin Jowett translated The Republic, am I right? Did Benjamin Jowett translate The Republic? Yes, Benjamin Jowett is a translator of The Republic. Very good. If I say Menachem is a famous play by Aristophanes, am I right? Menachem is not a play by Aristophanes. Aristophanes wrote The Clouds, The Frogs, The Wasps, Lysistrata. Menachem, Amphitryon, these are works by Plautus. Very good, Plautus. Now, let me ask you a question. Did King Arthur translate Boethius's Consolation of Philosophy? Did King Arthur translate Boethius's Consolation of Philosophy? Yes, indeed. King Arthur translated Boethius's Consolation of Philosophy. Do you remember? It was a prison book. It was a prison book. Now, King Alfred, not King Arthur, King Alfred translated. Sorry, King Alfred. And did Chaucer translate Boethius's Consolation of Philosophy? Not Arthur. King Alfred. King Alfred translated. Not Arthur. Arthur did not write anything. Yes, Chaucer also translated Boethius's Consolation of Philosophy. Chaucer also translated Boethius's Consolation of Philosophy. That's indeed correct. Okay. In the Canterbury Tales, is there a depiction of the serfs? Is there a depiction of the serfs? SERFS? Yes, there are. Is there a depiction of free peasants? There are no slaves though. Free peasants, most of them are free peasants. Okay. Serfs are people who could travel with the permission of their masters. Right? Do you remember who wrote The Lady of Shalott? It is an Arthurian work. It is indeed Tennyson who wrote Lady of Shalott. Right. Is The Lotus Eaters based on Homer? The Lotus Eaters is based on both Homer and Dante also. All right. If I say Tristram of Lyonesse was written by Tennyson, am I right? Tristram of Lyonesse, no, it is not by Tennyson. Tristram of Lyonesse is by A.C. Swinburne. Tristram of Lyonesse was written as a reply to William Collins's Defense of Guinevere. Is it right? Yes. William Collins wrote, no, William Morris, not Collins. Yes, you're right. It is not William Collins. It is William Morris who wrote Defense of Guinevere. A.C. Swinburne wrote Tristram of Lyonesse as a reply. You are right, guys. You said it right. There is an opera called Tristram and Isolde, which is the source for the Wasteland. There is an opera called Tristram and Isolde. When did Arnold write operas? As soon as you hear something, you should not say it. It is not Matthew Arnold. I'm talking about an opera. Matthew Arnold's Tristram and Isolde is a narrative poem. It is not the source of the Wasteland. The opera is Richard Wagner's opera. Richard Wagner made the opera Tristram and Isolde, which is the source for the Wasteland. Now, did you get it right, everyone? Excellent. Tell me, did Henry Fielding write anything about Arthur or Arthur's court? Did Henry Fielding write anything about Arthur or Arthur's court? Henry Fielding wrote Tom Thumb, the tragedy of tragedies, or Tom Thumb the Great. Tom Thumb is having the character Merlin. Merlin is a wizard from King Arthur's court, isn't it? So Tom Thumb is set in King Arthur's court. Did Kazuo Ishiguro write anything set in King Arthur's court? Yes, Kazuo Ishiguro wrote The Buried Giant. The Buried Giant, based on King Arthur's court. That's right. Did Mark Twain write anything based on King Arthur's court? Mark Twain, yes, the Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's courts. Right. Hank Morgan is the protagonist. Very good, guys. I'm loving this. All right. You know that Tennyson wrote Morte d'Arthur. Tennyson wrote Morte d'Arthur. Eventually, it was added into another book. Which book did it become part of? Tennyson's Morte d'Arthur became part of which book? That's right. Tennyson's Morte d'Arthur became part of Idylls of the King. Okay, guys, everyone on YouTube, this is our marathon revision. You already had paper 1 marathon revisions. This is paper 2. And we have our paid course students here with us. At Valat, the most important thing that helps everyone is the immensity of revision classes that we have. We have so many revision classes. Every single encyclopedia we go through again and again and again, and our students become ready for it. So when you write net, those who are on YouTube, you should study like that, because you're competing with Valat students who are in the paid courses. So we should go through every single thing in the encyclopedia. Now, as Gopika is reminding me in the chat, we are not only having revisions at the end before the exam, we start revisions daily with the classes also. So if anybody is there who wants to study English literature and also all associated topics like theory, culture studies, everything thoroughly without taking shortcuts, really thoroughly, so that you will have the foundation for a glorious career, come to Valat. I can confidently say that you will get the best. Okay, so coming back to our topics, I was just giving a brain break. Tell me, Marmion, the Bridal of Triermain, these are Arthurian works. Who wrote it? Do you have classes after the exam? No. But for previous batch students, we have progressive revision. You can join our revision program so that you can prepare for the next exam right now. That we have many alumni support programs, which are only for our paid course students. If you take one program with Valet, you get so many packages. You get support for the rest of your career. Right. Tell me, guys, Marmion and the Bridal of Trier, Maine is by Walter Scott. And what is important, one more thing, all our programs are generally online. There are only 2 offline classes. One is the offline net at Trivandrum, the offline net at Ernakulam. Everything else is online. We have hundreds of students in our online classes. Okay, let's not waste time. There is a novel which is subtitled An Academic Romance. A novel subtitled Academic Romance. And who wrote this novel? It has Arthurian motifs. Small World and Academic Romance, isn't it? Who wrote it? It is David Lodge. Yes. And as I move on to the next topic, you should also remember that if you want, you can get lifetime access to our courses. And with one course, you can prepare for many exams. Right. So if I say the Crusades were between 11th and 13th centuries, is it right? The Crusades were between 11th and 13th centuries. Is it right? Yes, very good. If I say the aristocracy, episcopacy, and peasantry in the medieval period practiced chivalry, am I right? The aristocracy, episcopacy, and the peasantry. Absolutely wrong. Only the peasantry, only the aristocracy, that too the knights practiced chivalry. The episcopacy or the clergy and the peasantry did not practice chivalry. Got it, everyone? Is it clear? They did not practice chivalry. Okay? The aristocracy, especially the lower aristocracy, the knights. Okay, Gopika, what is the name of, what do you call a knight who is taking training for knighthood? What do you call a knight who is taking training for knighthood? Everybody, yes, it is squire. Squire. Okay, in which novel do you have Squire and Thwackum, 2 characters? Square and Thwackum are 2 characters in Tom Jones, isn't it? Tom Jones. That's right. What is the importance of the year 1455? What is the importance of the year 1455? That is the year in which the Wars of the Roses began. The Wars of the Roses, 1455. If I say that Robin Hood lived in the time of Richard II, am I right? Wars of the Roses, 1455. If I say Robin Hood lived in the time of Richard II, am I right? No, it is Richard I. Robin Hood lived in the time of Richard I or Richard the Lionheart. Richard the Lionheart. Right. Is John Bunyan a writer who wrote Dream Allegory? Did John Bunyan write Dream Allegory? Yes, John Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress is a dream allegory. Many of you will finish your NET exam on June 5th. If you are prepared for GATE, if you have applied for GATE, you should prepare for GATE like this. GATE questions will be basically a lot of genres, a lot of terms. You have to clearly understand the terms. They'll ask about movements. Okay, we have a GATE course also. But by yourself also, you can prepare. Who wrote the novel News from Nowhere? He also inaugurated the fantasy genre. News from Nowhere is William Morris. That's right, guys. News from Nowhere is by William Morris. Very good. Is Gawain and the Green Knight a chivalric tale? Is it an example of chivalry? Yes, Gawain and the Green Knight is a chivalric tale of the medieval period. From the medieval period, let me ask you another question. Who among the medieval writers wrote letters on familiar matters? Who among the medieval writers wrote letters on familiar matters? He also wrote an epic poem, Africa. He wrote an epic poem, Africa. It is indeed Petrarch, the father of humanism. Petrarch is the father of humanism, isn't it? Excellent. If I say that Inferno is set in the year 1300, am I right? is Inferno, set in the year 1300. Yes, it is set in the year, it is set from 1300 to 1321. 1321 is the year in which Dante passed away. Dante passed away in 1321, isn't it? Excellent. As you all know, I am asking questions from our Encyclopedia of British Literature. We have 3 volumes of it, as you're all aware. Right now, our Encyclopedia of Literary Criticism is also coming. One more book, if you have it, that you should use is our chronology book. All your chronology problems will be solved by that book. Right, guys? Now, I'm going to ask you about some characters from Chaucer. Let me see if you know Chaucer's characters. Okay? Which character went to Jerusalem thrice? Which of Chaucer's characters went to Jerusalem thrice? It is indeed the wife of Bath. The wife of Bath. Very good. Now tell me another question, guys. This man is the man of law's companion. He loved good food and wine. He was a man of great hospitality. And he had a white beard. It is the Franklin. The Franklin. Okay, tell me another character. Who is this? He took bribes. He spouted a few Latin phrases. He drank blood red wine to excess. Children were afraid of his fiery red face. Fiery red face, Summoner. Summoner took bribes, so did the friar. You are right. Both Summoner and friar took bribes. But it is the Summoner who spouts a few Latin verses. Friar's neck is as white as a lily. And the Summoner has a red, pimpled face. Correct you are. Very good. Who bore a multicolored coat and looked like he was very busy. He knew he knew things till William the Conqueror. It is man of law. He was a wealthy land buyer and a social climber. Okay, very good. Who had a beard like a red sow, big, broad beard. His nostrils were black. He had a thick nose. All these features, physical features, are depicted as vulgar because he's a lower class character. He's a peasant class. Yes, it is the miller. What is the musical instrument that the miller plays? What is the musical instrument that the miller plays? It is indeed the bagpipe. Bagpipe. Okay, in the medieval period, there was Speculum Meditandus. In which language was Speculum Meditandus written? In which language was Speculum Meditandus written? It was written in French. Vox Clamantis in Latin. Very good. What is Chevy Chase? The wife of Usher's Well. They are ballads. They are ballads. Who is Francis J. Childs? Francis J. Childs is a man who collected ballads in the 19th century. He collected ballads in the 19th century. Do you remember all that, guys? Okay, I'm going to ask you one question. You should identify what I am talking about. Why did Gutenberg erase tiny Luther's cover? Answer is, the king wanted it. At Valat, we have a lot of excellent codes like this, mnemonic codes that nobody can replicate. We have too many of them. And because of our codes, our students remember everything easily. Why Gutenberg erased tiny Luther's cover? Because the king wanted it. This is the chronology of the Bible translations. Why is Wycliffe? Gutenberg is Gutenberg's edition. Erased is Erasmus. Tiny is Tyndale. Luther is Martin Luther. Then cover is Coverdale. And last is King James Bible. Did you get that? I will tell you again. Why Gutenberg erased tiny Luther's cover? King wanted it. Why Gutenberg erased tiny Luther's cover? Because the king wanted it. Now, will you all remember Bible translation chronology? If they ask, Wycliffe, Gutenberg, Erasmus, Tyndale, Luther, Coverdale, King James Bible. Why Gutenberg erased tiny Luther's cover? Why Gutenberg erased tiny Luther's cover? At Tvelat, everybody remembers all information, not only because we have codes, but because we repeat the codes ad infinitum without getting tired. So why Gutenberg erased tiny Luther's cover? King wanted it. I hope all of you who are listening to me will remember this chronology and write it in the exam if you need it. Yes? Yeah. Most of you might have watched our online farewell. There were so many quotes we said there. And Pallavi, Tony, their videos, Shobana, they all made code videos, isn't it? For us, wonderful. Let me ask you this. Who is the man who loved Anne Boleyn and was imprisoned while Anne Boleyn was put to death? Do you know this man? He also introduced some things into English. Who is that man? It is Wyatt. Wyatt, W-Y-A-T-T, isn't it? So in NET exam, you are required to study chronology. You are required to remember how books were produced. You are required to remember the biography of authors, biographical details. You are required to know textual details and also analytically understand, okay, because of this, that happened like that. There will be assertion, reason questions, statement type questions. You will have a lot of reading to do. Just mugging up facts will not be sufficient, but facts will help you analyze better. Okay? All right. Do you know what is blazon convention? What is blazon convention? Blazon convention is praising the body parts of the sweetheart. Okay, wonderful. Who died in 1603? It is Elizabeth I, and James I came to power. Do you know who died in 1605? 2 years after Elizabeth. It was Emperor Akbar. It was Emperor Akbar. Okay? Right. Very good. There is a word for the hierarchy of all the things in this universe, from God down to the minerals. What is that called? The hierarchy of everything in this universe, arranged like a pyramid. That is called the great chain of being. The great chain of being. It was very influential in the 16th and 17th centuries. In the 18th century also, but slowly it got replaced. All right, very good. What happened in 1642? I'm just setting the stage for the next chapter. The theaters were closed because the Puritans came to power, isn't it? Wonderful. And which was the tragedy that was performed in 1561? That is the year in which Francis Bacon was born. 1561, while one tragedy is being enacted, Francis Bacon is born. It is Gorboduc. Very good. Gorboduc. Very good. Very good. Gorboduc was written by Sackville, Norton and Sackville, right? And that is the first tragedy, the first tragedy in English is the first one to be written in blank verse. Francis Bacon is a tragic baby. Isn't it, Aksa and Kuriakos? She is taking the baton from me in this marathon division. I'm handing over my baton to Aksa. Are you there, Aksa? Are you going to revise from Shakespeare?
From Shakespearean contemporaries, ma'am.
From Shakespeare's contemporaries?
Yes.
I thought when you gave me 1 to 7, I thought you were going to do from 7. That's not a problem. Let me revise Shakespeare in a few minutes before you take over. Okay? Right. I'm going to say a lot of wrong sentences, everyone. You have to tell me what is wrong about them. Okay? The Merry Wives of Windsor is a dark comedy. Tell me, guys. No, The Merry Wives of Windsor is A mature comedy. Dark comedies are All is Well That Ends Well, Measure for Measure, and Troilus and Cressida. All is Well That Ends Well, Measure for Measure, and Troilus and Cressida. Okay. Another question to you. Cymbeline is a Roman play. What is wrong about it? It is Coriolanus, that is a Roman play. Cymbeline is a romance. Cymbeline is a romance. Do you know who wrote Shakespeare's history plays, the book? It is E.M.W. Tilliard. E.M.W. Tilliard also wrote the Elizabethan world picture. That brings me to Hamlet in Purgatory. Do you know who wrote Hamlet in Purgatory? Hamlet in Purgatory. That is Stephen Greenblatt, the man who wrote Renaissance Self-Fashioning, Will in the World, Shakespearean Negotiations. I hope you remember all that. Very good. If I say that Henry VIII is one of the last plays of Shakespeare, am I right? Yes. Henry VIII was written along with the romances of Shakespeare. Henry VIII is written along with the romances. Okay, I'm going to say something rapidly. Character and text. You have to rapidly answer, okay? What is the correct one? You have to rapidly correct my mistake. Puck is in Love's Labour's Lost. True or false? No, Puck is in A Midsummer Night's Dream. Viola is in As You Like It. Viola is in 12th Night. Launcelot Gobbo is in Two Noble Kinsmen. No, it is in Merchant of Venice. Launcelot Gobbo is Shylock's servant. Okay? Launcelot Gobbo is Shylock's servant. Very good. Angelo is in All Is Well That Ends Well. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Angelo is in Measure for Measure. Angelo is in Measure for Measure. Very good. Enobarbus is in Julius Caesar. Enobarbus is in Antony and Cleopatra. Antony and Cleopatra. Okay, one of the sources of Othello is demonology. No, one of the sources of Macbeth is demonology. Last question on Shakespeare. Who wrote M-A-C-B-E-T-T? The play M-A-C-B-E-T-T. M-A-C-B-E-T-T is by Eugene Ionesco. Eugene Ionesco wrote an adaptation of Macbeth called Macbeth. Okay, Eugene Ionesco is an absurd playwright. Isn't it? Absurdist playwright. Before I hand over the session to Aksa, I want to remind all of you one thing. It is natural, it is human not to know everything. You must be a computer if you remember everything, if you know everything. It is absolutely okay if you forget. It is absolutely okay if you don't get all the answers in the exam. What is not okay is you're getting flustered about it. It's you're getting emotional about it and messing up the entire test. We should not do that. This question, I don't know. Fine. I will know the next question. Isn't it? Aksa, your turn now.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? How is it going? Are you liking it? Good evening. Yes. Okay. So are you able to remember? Are you able to answer the questions? Are you feeling comfortable? Yes? Okay. So we'll continue. Okay. So my first question to you is, it is a simple question. Who was born in 1554? Which contemporary of Shakespeare was born in 1554? Yes, that is Sir Philip Sidney. That is Philip Sidney, which is his famous sonnet sequence. Which is his famous sonnet sequence? That is Astrophil and Stella. There are dash number of sonnets in Astrophil and Stella. There are 108 sonnets and 11 songs in Astrophil and Stella. Okay. Loving in truth and fain in verse my love to show. This is the first poem in which work of Sidney? Loving in truth and fain in verse my love to show. This is the first poem in which work? Yes, it is in Astrophil and Stella. That is correct. Astrophil and Stella. Yes. Who is this person who wrote a work defending poetry? It is Sidney. What is the title of this work? Which is this work? It is Apology for Poetry. Yes, Apology for Poetry. When was it published? When was it published? In 1595. In 1595. Okay. Which work of Sidney ends with a dramatic trial scene, which reveals the faults of two men? Their names are Pyrocles and Musidorus. You guys are so talented, I don't have to even complete the question. The names of the two men are Pyrocles and Musidorus. Which work am I talking about? It is Arcadia. Who wrote Arcadia? It is Philip Sidney. Correct. Okay. Now, Sidney wrote Apology for Poetry as a response to whose work? Stephen Gosson's School of Abuse. School of Abuse. When was School of Abuse published? In 1579. Someone else also wrote a response to Sidney's Apology for Poetry. Who is it? It is Thomas Lodge. What was the title of Lodge's work? What was the title of Lodge's work? Defense of Poetry, Music and Stage Plays. Defense of Music, Poetry, Music and Stage Plays. Correct. That was in 1580. It was published in 1580. Now, who wrote Wit's Misery? Who wrote? This is a sermon which is titled Wit's Misery. It is based on the 7 deadly sins. 7 deadly sins. Who wrote it? It is Thomas Lodge. Thomas Lodge. Which work of Thomas Lodge was the source of As You Like It? Which work of Thomas Lodge was the source for As You Like It? It is Rosalind. That is correct. Okay. What is the title of the sonnet cycle of Thomas Lodge? The title of the sonnet cycle by Thomas Lodge is Phyllis. It is Phyllis. The title of the sonnet sequence by Sidney is Astrophil and Stella. What is the sonnet sequence by Spenser? Did he write a sonnet sequence? Yes, it is Amority. There are dash number of sonnets in Amority. There are dash number of sonnets in Amority. 89 sonnets in Amority. Correct. There are 64 sonnets in whose sonnet sequence? It is an Ideas Mirror. Who wrote Ideas Mirror? That is Michael Drayton. Michael Drayton. Correct. Okay. Now, Shakespeare and another person shares the same year of birth. Who is it? It is Christopher Marlowe. Both of them were born in 1564. Anthony Burgess wrote a work based on Shakespeare. What is the title of that work? It is Nothing Like the Sun. Anthony Burgess wrote a work based on Christopher Marlowe, which is titled Dead Man at Deptford. Dead Man at Deptford. Correct. Yes. Okay. Who attributed the mighty line to Marlowe? Who attributed the title of mighty line to Marlowe? It is Ben Jonson. It is Ben Jonson. That is correct. Where do we have the character Barabbas? Where do we have the character Barabbas? It is in Jew of Malta. That is correct. It is in Jew of Malta. Who's the first Machiavellian villain? The first Machiavellian villain is Barabbas. Correct. Okay. Now tell me, what is the subtitle of Epicene? What is the subtitle of Epicene? It is the Silent Women. It is the Silent Women. Who wrote Epicene? Who wrote Epicene? It is Ben Jonson. It is Ben Jonson. That is correct. Where do we have the character Face and Subtle? The characters Face and Subtle appear in which work? In The Alchemist. In The Alchemist. Correct. Okay. How many essays did Bacon write in total? How many essays did Bacon write in total? There are 58 essays by Bacon. Correct. which is his unfinished utopian fiction. The title of his unfinished utopian fiction, it is The New Atlantis. The New Atlantis, which is the fictional institution that he created. The fictional institution that he created, it is Solomon's House. Solomon's House, that is correct. Okay. Who is known as the father of metaphysical poetry? Who is known as the father of metaphysical poetry? It is John Donne. Yes, correct. Okay. Let me ask you another question. No. Listen to this question. Animal Farm, Test of the Devils, Wasteland, Lord of the Rings. Which of these works has an influence of the Fairy Queen? Animal Farm, Test of the Devils, Wasteland, or the Lord of the Rings? Which of these works has an influence of the Fairy Queen? It is the Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings. Who wrote the Lord of the Rings? Who wrote it? Yes, Tolkien wrote Lord of the Rings. Correct. Okay. Now, who said poetry is the first light giver to ignorance? Poetry is the first light giver to ignorance. Who said it? That is Sidney. It is Sidney. Correct. It is Sidney. Okay. Now, in which work did Donne use the famous metaphor of the compass to compare lovers? It is in the Valediction Forbidding Morning. Valediction Forbidding Morning. Holy sonnets are also known as divine meditations. Divine meditations. Who wrote the work Centuries of Meditations? Centuries of Meditations, that is Thomas Traherne. Thomas Traherne wrote Centuries of Meditation. Yes. Okay. When was the bishop's ban? When was the bishop's ban? In 1599. 1599. Okay. Correct. What is the subtitle of The Shoemaker's Holiday? The Shoemaker's Holiday by Thomas Dekker. What is the subtitle of this work? The Gentle Craft. The Gentle Craft. What kind of a work is it? What is the genre of this work? Is it a revenge comedy? Is it a city comedy? What is it? It is a city comedy. Yes. Chapman, Johnson, and Marston together wrote the work titled Eastward Ho. Is that true? Yes. Who is known as a sort of prose Shakespeare? Who is known as a sort of prose Shakespeare? It is Thomas Heywood. It is Thomas Heywood. Correct. Okay. Now tell me, where do we have the character Mary Frith? Mary Frith is a notorious pickpocket. And she's a character from which work of Dekker? She's from The Roaring Girl. She's a character from The Roaring Girl. Yes. Okay. Where do we have the famous mime scene? In which work do we have the mime scene? I'll give you a clue. It is a work of John Webster. In which work do we have the famous mime scene? It is from The Duchess of Malfi. The Duchess of Malfi. Correct. Okay. Tell me, when was The Shoemaker's Holiday published? When was The Shoemaker's Holiday published? In 1599. That is same as the year of? That is same as the year of what? Bishop's ban. Bishop's ban. Correct. Okay. I'm so glad that you're answering all the questions. Now tell me, what is the subtitle of Philaster? The subtitle of Philaster. It is Love Lies a Bleeding. Love Lies a Bleeding. Who wrote it? Who wrote Philaster or Love Lies a Bleeding? It is Beaumont and Fletcher. Beaumont and Fletcher wrote Philaster or Love Lies a Bleeding. When was the Changeling written? In which year was the Changeling written? That was in 16. It was written in 1622 and later it was performed in 1653. Okay. Now, Charles Lamb called Dash as the last of a great race. Who is it? Charles Lamb called Dash as the last of a great race. It is James Shirley. It is James Shirley. Whose sonnet sequence is titled Delia? Whose sonnet sequence is titled Delia? It is Samuel Daniel. Samuel Daniel. Okay. Now, who wrote The Anatomy of Melancholy? The Anatomy of Melancholy. It is Robert Burton. When was it published? When was it published? In 1621. He wrote The Anatomy of Melancholy in another name. What was that other name? He wrote it under the name Democritus Jr. Democritus Jr. What is the meaning of Democritus? Democritus is called the what? It is the laughing philosopher. Democritus is known as the laughing philosopher. Correct. Okay. Now, who is known as the Lady of the Christs? Lady of Christs. Who is known as the Lady of Christs? It is Milton. When was Milton born? When was Milton born? In 1608. In 1608. Okay. Now, when was Paradise Lost published? In 10 books. Paradise Lost was published in 10 books in 1667. 1667. Which is the year of birth of? 1667 is the year of birth of Jonathan Swift. When was Paradise Lost published in 12 books? That was in 1674, which is the year of death of? That is the year in which Milton died. Yes. Which are the companion poems of Milton? The companion poems of Milton, L'Allegro and Il Penseroso. L'Allegro and Il Penseroso. Okay. Milton wrote Lycidas in 1637. It was in commemoration of which friend? What was the name of this friend? It is Edward King. Edward King. Correct. Okay. Which is this work written by Milton as a response to the licensing order of 1643? It is Areopagitica. When was it published? When was Areopagitica published? In 1644. Yes, correct. Okay. Now, how many times does Milton evoke the muse in Paradise Lost? 4 times. What was the actual first initial title of Paradise Lost? The initial title of Paradise Lost was Adam Unparadised. Adam Unparadised. Who said Satan is the real hero of Paradise Lost? Satan is the real hero of Paradise Lost. Who said it? Think, it is not Blake. Satan is the real hero of Paradise Lost. This person wrote Medal, McFlecknoe. It is Dryden. Dryden said Satan is the real hero of Paradise Lost. Who said Milton is Devil's Party without knowing it? Milton is Devil's Party without knowing it. That is Blake. Which is the longest book in Paradise Lost? Longest book, book 9. Shortest book, book 7. Book 7. Who wrote Surprised by Sin? The reader in Paradise Lost. It is Stanley Fish. It is Stanley Fish. Stanley Fish is associated with which theory, which theoretical area? It is reader response criticism. Yes, okay. Did Milton write about divorces? Did Milton write about divorce? Yes. When I consider how my light is spent is the opening line of which sonnet? When I consider how my light is spent, it is the opening line of On His Blindness. On His Blindness. Who wrote The Religion of a Doctor? The Religion of Doctor, which is also known as Religio Medici. It is Sir Thomas Browne. Religio Laici is a work of Dryden. Yes, correct. Who wrote works like Hesperides, Upon Julia's Clothes, An Ode to Ben Jonson? All these are works of Robert Herrick. Robert Herrick, yes. Now tell me, which poem of Henry Vaughan inspired Wordsworth's Immortality Ode? It is The Retreat. It is The Retreat. Correct. What kind of a poem is Cooper's Hill? What kind of a poem is Cooper's Hill? It is a topographical poem. Which is the topographical poem by Pope? Pope's poem. It is Windsor Forest. When was Windsor Forest published? When was Windsor Forest published? In 1713. Who published another work in 1713? It is Addison. Addison published Cato in 1730. Okay. Yes, that is correct. Which is the first work of Pope? Which is the first published work of Pope? It is Pastorals. When was it published? In 1709. In 1709. Which periodical started in 1709? Which periodical started in 1709? That is Statler. Who came out with an edition of Shakespeare in 1709? It is Nicholas Rove. Nicholas Rove came out with an edition of Shakespeare in 1709. Who was born in 1709? Which famous neoclassical author was born in 1709? It is Dr. Johnson. It is Dr. Johnson. That is correct. Okay. Now, who is credited with ending the system of patronage with the letter to Chesterfield? He wrote Letter to Chesterfield. It is Dr. Johnson. Dr. Johnson, which is his famous work, which was published in 1755. That is the dictionary. The dictionary came out in 1755. Which work came out in 1765? 1765, Preface to Shakespeare. Preface to Shakespeare. 1781, which work came out in 1781? It is the Lives of the Poets. Lives of the Poets. Correct. Okay. Now tell me. Elegy on the Death of a Mad Dog. This is a poem that appears in another famous novel. Which is this novel? It is The Vicar of Wakefield. Who wrote it? Oliver Goldsmith's Vicar of Wakefield. When was it published? When was it published? In 1766. In 1766. Medal, Macflecknoe, Religio Laici, all these works were published in which year? Medal, Macflecknoe, Religio Laici. All of them were published in 1682. 1682, yes. Okay. In the beginning of which work did Dryden talk about the concept of heroic drama? It was a prefix to which work of Dryden? It is The Conquest of Granada. The Conquest of Granada. Correct. Okay. Who called Dryden the father of criticism? Who called Dryden the father of criticism? It is also Dr. Johnson. It is Dr. Johnson. Correct. Okay. Now tell me, who wrote The Country Wife? Who wrote The Country Wife? It is William Wycherley. William Wycherley. Okay. Where do we have the character Marjorie Pinchwife? Marjorie Pinchwife is a famous character from? Marjorie Pinchwife. She is from The Country Wife. From The Country Wife. Which is this work of William Congreve, which came out in 1700. It came out in 1700. It opens at a chocolate house Which work am I talking about? It is The Way of the World. It came out in 1700. 1700. Okay. No. Tell me the year in which Glorious Revolution happened. The year of Glorious Revolution, 1688. Which work of Aphra Behn was published in 1688? Aphra Behn was published in 1688. It is Orinoco. What is the subtitle of Orinoco? The Royal Slave. The Royal Slave. Correct. Okay. Who edited the Female Spectator? Who edited the Female Spectator? It is Eliza Haywood. Eliza Haywood. Now tell me, which is the spiritual autobiography of John Bunyan? The spiritual autobiography of John Bunyan. It is Grace Abounding to the Chief of Sinners. Pilgrim's Progress is not the spiritual autobiography. The spiritual autobiography of John Bunyan is Grace Abounding to the Chief of Sinners. When was the Pilgrim's Progress published? Pilgrim's Progress was published in 1678. 1678. Correct. Who produced an encyclopedia in 1751? 1751. That is Denis Diderot. Denis Diderot came out with an encyclopedia in 1751. Correct. Okay. Which are the Juvenilean satires of Dr. Johnson? The Juvenilean satires of Dr. Johnson. London and the Vanity of Human Wishes. London and Vanity of Human Wishes. Correct. Okay. Trivia, or the Art of Walking the Streets of London, is a famous work of John Gay. Yes. Who wrote Beggar's Opera? Who wrote Beggar's Opera? That is also John Gay. It is said that the play made rich gay and gay rich. Beggar's Opera, 1728. Now this play inspired Bertolt Brecht's play titled Threepenny Opera, which came out in 1928. Threepenny Opera came out in 1928. Beggar's Opera came out in 1728. Okay. When was the Daily Current published for the first time? Daily Current published for the first time. It is 1702. 1702. Okay. When was Tatler started? Tatler was started in 1709. Spectator started off in 1711. Who is associated with Rambler and Hitler? Rambler and Hitler? It is Dr. Johnson. It is Dr. Johnson. Who is associated with the Review? The Review? It is Daniel Defoe. It is Daniel Defoe. What is the subtitle of Roxana? The subtitle of Roxana? It is The Fortunate Mistress. The Fortunate Mistress. Who wrote The Unfortunate Traveler? The work titled Unfortunate Traveler, it is Thomas Nash. Thomas Nash wrote The Unfortunate Traveler. What is the name of this unfortunate traveler? It is Jack Wilton. Jack Wilton, yes. Okay. Now, where do we have the characters Blifil, Sophia? Blifil and Sophia characters from Tom Jones. When was Tom Jones published? In 1749. Which famous work was published 10 years after Tom Jones? Which means in 1759. It is Tristram Shandy. It is Tristram Shandy. Yes. Correct. Okay. Now tell me, who wrote a political romance? This was his first novel. A political romance. It is Lawrence Sterne. It is Lawrence Sterne. Okay. Let me ask you one last question. Which four writers are known as the four wheels of the English novel? The four wheels of the English novel. Samuel Richardson, Henry Fielding, Lawrence Sterne, and Tobias Smollett. Now, who called these writers as the four wheels? Who coined this term? It is George Sainsbury. George Sainsbury also coined another term. What is it? Sainsbury also coined the term university wits. Yes. Okay. So is
Hi,
it?
Aksa.
Yes.
Hi, guys. Now it's a couple session with Sudeep and me.
Okay. Simple question. When was French Revolution? When did French Revolution take place?
French Revolution was in 1789. Correct.
Okay. So, when was American War of Independence?
Yeah, Declaration of Independence in America, 1776. Correct.
Right.
Okay, my turn now. Which is the book that started publication in 1776 and ended publication in 1789? It is Edward Gibbon's Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. Your turn, Sudeep.
Okay. So, I'll give you a quotation. The sounding cataract haunted me like a passion. So, which book has this epigraph?
These are lines from Tintin Abbey. Sudeep is asking which book has this epigraph?
Frank. Yeah.
That's right, Frankenstein. And when was Frankenstein published, Sudeep?
18. Yeah, 18.
1818. Somebody was born in 1818, wasn't she, Sudeep?
You gave them a hint.
It is
Yes.
Emily Bronte and also Karl Marx. Emily Bronte, Karl Marx, born in 1818. Who passed away in 1817? Passed away Jane Austen. Okay, what did William Gilpin coin? What term did William Gilpin coin? Picturesque. That's right, picturesque. Great. Chinese Letters or The Citizen of the World. Who is it by? Is it by Oliver Goldsmith, Sudeep? Yes,
Yes.
it is by Oliver Goldsmith. And there is a Chinese narrator there, Lian Chi Altangi. Lian Chi Altangi. Okay.
Okay. Who wrote the poem The Fleece?
The Fleece is a very pastoral poem, isn't it? The Fleece. Fleece.
Fleece, not flee.
It is John Dyer, correct? John
Yeah.
Dyer. What kind of a poem is this, Sudeep?
It's a Georgic poem.
Georgic means you have pastoral elements, you have themes like milking the cow, shearing of sheep, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, such a beautiful genre, isn't it? Well, if we say that The Fleece is a long epic poem, is it true? Is it a long epic poem? Yes, it is
Yes.
true. It is a long epic poem. So what's your next question?
Okay. Who were the famous author who died in 1700?
I'm sure they know that. It is Dryden who died in 1700. Congreve also, I think, yes.
And who died in 1400?
Chaucer.
Yeah.
When Dryden died in 1700, somebody was born, wasn't he, Sudeep?
Yeah.
It is James Thomson. James Thomson was born in 1700. Dryden died in 1700. Okay, James Thomson wrote The Castle of Indolence. What is the stanza form? Is it blank verse? They know it.
Spenserian. Yes.
What is Spenserian stanza? Spenserian stanza is 9 lines. Yes.
Yeah. 8 lines of iambic pentameter and
One
one
Alexandrine.
Alexandrine.
Correct.
Yeah, total of 9. Yeah.
Correct. The Castle of Indolence, lines from it are quoted by somebody. in American literature? Do you remember?
Yeah, he's from the capital of America.
Washington Irving. In The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, he quotes from, right, The Castle of Indolence. Do you know the famous story by Washington Irving?
About somebody who overslept.
Oh, yes, Rip Van Winkle.
Yeah.
Rip Van Winkle. During this time, there is an Anglo-Irish writer who wrote a poem subtitled The Prospect of Society. He wrote another poem about a village called Auburn. It is indeed Oliver Goldsmith. Oliver Goldsmith. What did Oliver Goldsmith write about a dog? Do you remember, Sudhi?
It's an elegy.
Oh, an elegy about a...
on the death of a mad dog.
Elegy on the death of a mad dog. Wow, that's right. Something he wrote about a school in the deserted village. In the deserted village, there is a school. What is it about? Does it... I don't remember. Is it school teacher?
It's a severe and stern school teacher. Yeah.
It's about, and the school title is The Village Schoolmaster. The Village Schoolmaster. All right, very good. So who wrote Ode on a Distant Prospect of Eton College? Ode on a Distant Prospect of Eton College. It is indeed Thomas Gray. Thomas Gray. All right. Odes on several descriptive and allegorical subjects. Odes on several descriptive and allegorical subjects. It is by Collins. Very good. I Sing the Sofa. Where is it from? I Sing the Sofa.
Yeah, The Task. Yes.
By William Cowper. William Cowper. Who among them was born in 1757? Do you know?
William Blake.
And when did he die?
1827. Yeah.
1757 to 1827, William Blake. Remember, everyone, you should know the years of the authors. You should know the years of the authors. That's very important. All right. Okay. Did William Blake write Songs of Innocence and of Experience? Yes. William Blake wrote Songs of Innocence, published in 1789. Songs of Experience, published in 1793. Did William Blake write Lambeth books? Yes, Lambeth books. Did William Blake write something about Milton being the devil's party? In which book did he write that?
The Marriage of Heaven and Hell.
The Marriage of Heaven and Hell. It came in 1790. Very good, guys. So who wrote Kilmarnock volume? What is Kilmarnock, Sudeep?
It's the name of a place.
In Gaelic, yes. Kilmarnock volume is by Robert Burns. Okay, Sudeep, I'm going to tell some titles of Robert Burns's poems. We'll find out which is wrong. Are you ready? Okay. Did he write The Slave's Lament? Yes. He wrote The Slave's Lament. Did he write Old Lang Syne? Yes. He wrote Old Lang Syne. Did he write Afton Water? Yes. Did he write Ode to Duty? Ode to Duty? No, that is by Wordsworth. Ode to Duty is by Wordsworth. Do you know any book at this time subtitled A Gothic Story? Any book?
It's about a castle, I think.
Castle of Otranto. Which novel originally came as a fairy story? That is Animal Farm. Animal Farm originally came as a fairy story. So William Blake was born in 1757. Who was born in 1797? 1797?
Writing scary stories.
Scary stories. Mother of science fiction, Mary Shelley. Mary Shelley was born in 1797. Very good. Are you enjoying this? Is this marathon revision helping you? Very good. So when did the Napoleonic Wars end? When did the Napoleonic Wars end?
Yeah.
Napoleonic Wars ended in 1815, isn't it? Excellent. Sudeep, I've been asking, now you ask.
Okay. Who wrote Decline and Fall of the Romantic Ideal?
Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire is Gibbon. Decline and Fall of the Romantic Ideal is who?
Lucas.
F.L. Lucas.
Lucas.
F.L. Lucas. Okay.
Okay. Who wrote The Romantic Imagination?
C.M. Baura. Okay, let me ask you, who wrote Environmental Imagination? Environment Imagination, Lawrence Buell. Romantic Imagination, C.M. Baura.
Okay. Who wrote The Mirror and the Lamp?
It is also about Romanticism. The Mirror and the Lamp is by M.H. Abrams. He also wrote Natural Supernaturalism. Right. Any more questions?
Okay.
So, when was Wordsworth born? 1770. Who was born in 1771? Walter Scott. Who was born in 1772? Coleridge. Which is the only play by Wordsworth? You should tell them. I don't think they know it.
They know. The Borderers. Yes.
The Borderers is the only play by William Wordsworth. Did William Wordsworth write The Dungeon? No, it is by Coleridge. The Dungeon is by Coleridge. Okay, which is the poem that came in 13 books in 1805 and 14 books in 1850? The Prelude.
Okay.
Correct.
Which poem was subtitled Growth of a Poet's Mind?
Wow, Prelude, they said it. Okay, and what is the other title of the Prelude? Correct. Poem to Coleridge. Poem to Coleridge. The Prelude was intended as a prologue to the unfinished long poem, The Recluse. True or false? Yes. And what is the other part of The Recluse called? The Excursion. Okay, your turn, Sudeep.
Okay. Goody Blake and Harry Gill is a poem by Wordsworth.
No. Is it correct? Goody Blake and Harry Gill is a poem by Wordsworth. Yes, it is correct. It's a ballad by Wordsworth and it's a PYQ. Goody Blake and Harry Gill is a poem, is a ballad by Wordsworth. Okay. Did Wordsworth write any other odes, Sudeep?
Yeah. Two more. Yeah. Another.
Ode on Immortality, ode, correct?
Yes.
Ode to Duty, correct? Ode to the Skylark, correct? Then,
Okay.
did Wordsworth write Matthew poems? Yes. Wordsworth wrote Matthew poems. Who wrote Margaret poems? Matthew Arnold. Matthew Arnold.
Whose poem was The Discharged Soldier?
The Discharged Soldier. Wordsworth. Okay, whose poem was The Sensitive Plant? The Sensitive Plant. Correct? Shelley. It is about Mimosa pudica. Very good. Any other questions, Sudeep?
Okay. Who was born in 1772?
Wow, we already said that. Coleridge. And when did he die?
1834.
Correct.
Yes.
1834.
Okay. Which was the blank verse poem by Coleridge?
Oh my God, there were so many. Aeolian harp is there. Frost at midnight is there. This lime tree bower, my prison is there. What are these called? What are these called? Conversation poems. How many conversation poems did Coleridge write? That's right, 8 conversation poems. Okay.
Okay. He prayeth well who loveth well both man and bird and beast.
Where are these lines from? He prayeth well who loveth well both man and bird and beast. That's right. It is from the Rime of the Ancient Mariner. Okay, the Rime of the Ancient Mariner was written in 17 parts. Is it right, Sudhi?
Not so.
Ankara.
Okay, yes,
Seven parts.
Yes.
7 parts, correct. The Friend is a periodical edited by Coleridge. True or false? Yes, it is by a periodical edited by Coleridge. Okay. Which book by Coleridge was published in 1817? Watchman also is a periodical. Yes. By Coleridge. 1817, Biographia Literaria. Correct. Okay. Did Coleridge write Aids to Reflection? Yes.
Yes. Okay, how many chapters had Biographia Literaria?
Biographia Literaria had 23 chapters. Very good. And who was called Hermit of Marlow? That is Shelley. Who is called Sage of Highgate? That is Coleridge. Very good. Who was born in, you tell a year, Sudeep.
1788.
Who was born in 1788? That is Byron. Who was born in 1795? 2 people, Keats and Carlyle.
And what happened in 1688?
Who was born? Alexander Pope was born in 1688. That is right. Shelley.
Okay, who wrote The Witch of Atlas?
Wow, it is about a mysterious witch who lives on Atlas Mountain. That is indeed Shelley. Shelley. Where do you have the characters?
Asia, Hercules, and Jupiter.
These are characters in Prometheus Unbound.
Yes.
Very good. Prometheus Unbound. Very good, guys. Which is the collection of essays that Shelley wrote? A Defense of Poetry. Okay. And it was written in reply to
Thomas Love Peacock's
4 Ages of Poetry. Correct. 4 Ages of Poetry. Very good going, guys. Okay. In which poem does life appear as a triumphal chariot?
The Triumph of Life.
Life appears as a triumphal chariot in the Triumph of Life. Do you know which? Tell me one meter, Sudeep.
Terza Rima.
Okay, Terza Rima. Which poem was written in Terza Rima? That is a PYQ. Ode to the West Wind is correct. Ode to the West Wind is correct. Which poem was written in 5-lined quintain stanza? 5-lined quintain is To a Skylark.
Yes.
To a Skylark. Now ask, there are 2 poems by John Keats. What is special about them? You tell them.
It was published in the same year.
Correct. 2 poems by John Keats published in the same year,
And the year-
1818.
And the year is also repetitive.
1818, correct. Endymion and which is the other poem?
It's the name of a person.
Isabella. And where is the story of Isabella adapted from? Story of Isabella is adapted from
Decameron. Yeah.
Decameron by Boccaccio. Very good. Decameron by Boccaccio. That's right. Let me ask you another question, guys. Am I boring you? Do you remember who wrote Fugitive Pieces? Fugitive Pieces? Byron. Do you know which poem attacked the lake poets? Is it Edinburgh Review? Yes. Edinburgh Review attacked the lake poets. Which poem, which magazines attacked Keats? Blackwood's Review and Quarterly Magazine. Blackwood's Review and Quarterly Magazine. Very good. What was the pseudonym under which Sense and Sensibility was published?
Was published under a lady.
The pseudonym is Lady.
When was Sense and Sensibility published? Which year?
Everybody knows. What is our code? 1811 2122 SSPP MEP. That means 1811 Sense and Sensibility plus 2 Pride and Prejudice plus 1 Mansfield Parker, like that. Plus 2 plus 2. That's right. Anybody who did not understand the code should actually attend our classes for all the codes, isn't it? Okay. Cecilia by Fanny Burney inspired Pride and Prejudice. Is it true or false? Cecilia by Fanny Burney inspired Pride and Prejudice. That is absolutely right. Colonel Brandon is in which novel? Colonel Brandon is in which novel? It is indeed Sense and Sensibility. Sudeep?
Okay. In which novel can we find the character Frank Churchill?
In which novel do we find the character Frank Churchill? Indeed, it is Emma. Emma, very good. Where do you have the character Rushworth, who marries Maria? That is in Mansfield Park. Very good. Mansfield Park. Louisa and Henrietta Musgrove, Mr. Elliot. They are in Persuasion. Very good, guys. Who? You ask.
Okay. Who wrote Oxford in the Vacation?
Oxford in the Vacation? Dream Children? Yes, it is by Charles Lamb. Charles Lamb was born in the same year as Jane Austen, 1775. Did you know that, Sudhi? Okay.
Okay. Who wrote Imaginary Conversations?
Imaginary Conversations is by Walter Savage Landor. Imaginary Portraits is by Walter Pater. Charles Lamb is Prince of the Essays. You are right.
Okay. Who wrote On the Pleasure of Painting?
It is a part of Table Talk, I think. On the Pleasure of Painting is by Hazlitt. Hazlitt was a painter, right? He also wrote The Indian Jugglers. Did Hazlitt write The Round Table? With whom did he write The Round Table? Did Hazlitt write The Round Table?
Yes. He wrote it with Leigh Hunt.
Oh, with Leigh Hunt. Wonderful. Did Hazlitt write tragedies of Shakespeare or characters of Shakespeare? Tragedies is by Lamb. Hazlitt wrote characters of Shakespeare. Correct. Literature of Knowledge and Literature of Power is by
De Quincey.
De Quincey. Thomas De Quincey. Literature of Knowledge and the Literature of Power is by Thomas De Quincey. Which is the war, Sudeep? Sudeep is very good at history. Which is the war between England and Russia that happened in the middle of the 19th century?
The same one had Florence Nightingale.
Oh, really? Florence Nightingale. Crimean War. It is the Crimean War. Who wrote Night Runners of Bengal, set against the Indian Sepoy Mutiny? John Masters. John Masters.
Who wrote The Lady of Shalott?
I know. He is the man who was born in the same year as Charles Dickens, Charles Darwin, Edgar Allan. Charles Dickens, nahi. Charles Darwin, Edgar Allan Poe, Henry Derozio, 1809. That is Tennyson. Tennyson wrote The Lady of Shalott. Charles Dickens was born in 1812. Okay. There is a dramatic monologue by Tennyson where a weary soldier is coming to his childhood home. Which is that poem, Sudeep?
It's about a hall.
Hall, Locksley Hall. Which poem is subtitled A Medley?
The Princess.
The Princess. What is the name of the princess in The Princess? It is Princess Ida. Okay, Enoch Arden is a poem of loneliness and loss by Tennyson. True or false? Enoch Arden, yes. It is a poem of loneliness and loss. Who else was born in 1812? In the same year, Dickens was born.
Robert
Robert
Browning.
Browning.
Yes.
Robert Browning. Okay. Which is the verse drama by Robert Browning? Verse drama. Pipa passes.
Yes.
Pipa passes. Oh, it was New Year's Eve. That is New Year's Day that was depicted in Pipa passes. Just over, isn't it? Just over. In which poem of Browning does he talk about a lapis lazuli? Lapis lazuli. Bishop orders his tomb. The bishop wants a lapis lazuli on his tomb. Isn't it? Wow. So who wrote Empedocles on Etna? The author himself criticized that poem. Empedocles on Etna. It is Matthew Arnold. The In Memoriam and the Blessed Damozel were both published in 1850. True or false? In Memoriam and the Blessed Damozel, both published in 1850 is true.
Who wrote The Light of Asia? The Great Renunciation.
It is Edwin Arnold. Edwin Arnold. It's about Buddhism, Buddha. It is about Gautama Buddha. Okay. Carlyle coined the term condition of England. Do you think that's true? Carlyle coined the term condition of England. Do you think that is true? Yes. Carlyle coined the term condition of England.
Okay. Who wrote Diana of the Crossways?
Wow, that is a new woman novel. Diana of the Crossways is a new woman novel, 1885, same year as Huckleberry Finn. It is George Meredith.
Yes.
George Meredith. Who wrote the Condition of England novel? Alton Locke, tailor and poet, an autobiography. Alton Locke, tailor and poet, an autobiography. It is George Meredith. George Meredith wrote a sonnet sequence, Modern Love. He also wrote Idea of Comedy. It's an essay on comedy. George Meredith also wrote Essay on Comedy.
Okay. Who were the leaders of the Oxford movement?
Sudeep is asking an essay question. Cardinal Newman, Keble, Edward Bovary Pusey. Very good. Cardinal Newman, Keble, Edward Bovary Pusey. That's right.
Okay. Who wrote the novel Callista?
Callista is a novel. Loss and Gain is a novel. Who wrote it? Cardinal Newman only. Very good. Cardinal Newman. Very good. Then,
Whose first novel was Mary Barton?
Mary Barton, A Tale of Manchester Life. First novel of Elizabeth Gaskell. Do you know it came in the same year as Dombey and Son? 1848. 1848.
Okay. Which novel is subtitled A Novel Without a Hero?
That is indeed Vanity Fair. We know that. Amelia Sedley, Becky Sharp. Do you know Thackeray founded a magazine? Which is that magazine? Which is the magazine founded by Thackeray? It is indeed Cornhill Magazine.
Where do we find Dotheboys Hall?
Dotheboys Hall, is it? Nicholas Nickleby, you said it. Nicholas Nickleby, very good. In which year was David Copperfield published? Same year as In Memoriam. Yeah, 1850.
In which year was Great Expectations published?
1861, the year in which Tagore was born. Tagore was born. Who wrote Mr. Pip? Lloyd Jones. Who wrote Jack Maggs, based on Great Expectations? Peter Carey. And what did Kathy Acker write? Kathy Acker write.
Who wrote the...
Kathy Acker wrote Great Expectations. Yeah, your next question.
Okay. Who wrote The Life of Charles Dickens?
John Foster. John Foster. Who wrote Life of Charlotte Bronte? Elizabeth Gaskell. Where do you find Lowood School? Lowood School, Brocklehurst, Jane Eyre, very good. Very good. Okay. I think our time is almost up, but we have to say the code for George Eliot's works. We have to say the code for George Eliot's works. George Eliot wrote Adam Bede, Mill on the Floss, Silas Marner. Then Romola, Felix Holt, Middlemarch. Then she wrote Daniel Deronda, Impressions of Theophrastus Such. Once again, George Eliot wrote Adam Bede, Mill on the Floss, Silas Marner. Then she wrote Romola, Felix Holt, Middlemarch. Then Daniel Deronda, Impressions of Theophrastus Such. Like this, we play with all this information. Dear friends on YouTube, this is what we do in our classes. It's so much fun. 1861 is also Silas Marner, okay? Sir, are you happy? Are you happy with our students? And they're answering really well. Did you know, guys, George Meredith and D.J. Rossetti were both born in 1828. George Meredith and D.J. Rossetti were both born in 1828. Okay, who wrote No Name and Armadale? No Name and Armadale. It is by Wilkie Collins. Wilkie Collins. Where do you find Frank Troy? Where do you find Frank Troy? Frank Troy is in Far from the Madding Crowd. Where do you find Lucetta Templeman? Lucetta Templeman is in Mayor of Casterbridge. And lastly, what is the subtitle of Mayor of Casterbridge? Life and Death of a Man of Character. Okay, Ankita, are you there? Romola, Ankita, over to you. Guys, don't sit in front of the phone or laptop. We will keep coming and going. You go, drink some water, go to the washroom, eat something, and listen to us in between. Because you're going to chill and write your exam like a cake. Like you cut all the plum cakes during Christmas, you will write the exam like a cake.
They even have the bottom book.
Ankita, over to you.
Yes. Okay.
Couple signing off.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Hi. Okay. Ready? Chalo. Let's get started. Right? Okay. Tell me. Heart Insurgent. It was the working title of which novel? Heart Insurgent was the working title of which novel? Jude the Obscure. Jude the Obscure. Which is the only historical novel of Hardy? Only historical novel of Hardy. The Trumpet Major. The Trumpet Major. Oh, okay. Egdon Heath is the setting of which novel? Egdon Heath is the setting of which novel? The Return of the Native. The Return of the Native. Christminster is mentioned in which novel? Christminster. It is in Jude the Obscure. Jude the Obscure. Which scholars were associated with the movement of aestheticism? Which scholars were associated with the movement of aestheticism? Walter Pater, Oscar Wilde, right? Which is the only novel of Oscar Wilde? Which is the only novel of Oscar Wilde? The Picture of Dorian Gray. The Picture of Dorian Gray. Who coined the phrase pathetic fallacy? Who coined the phrase pathetic fallacy? It is John Ruskin. John Ruskin. Who supported the movement of art for life's sake? Who supported the movement of art for life's sake? John Ruskin, Matthew Arnold. Correct. Okay. Was Lytton Strachey a famous biographer? Was Lytton Strachey a famous biographer? Yes. Who wrote the play The Importance of Being Earnest? Who wrote the play The Importance of Being Earnest? Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde. Who practiced curtal sonnets? Who practiced curtal sonnets? G.M. Hopkins. G.M. Hopkins. Okay. Who wrote the Manifesto of Futurism? Who wrote the Manifesto of Futurism? That's by Filippo Marinetti. Filippo Marinetti wrote the Manifesto of Futurism. Futurism. Okay. Who wrote Atlanta in Caledon, Songs Before Sunrise? These are works by Atlanta in Caledon, Songs Before Sunrise. These are works by A.C. Swinburne. A.C. Swinburne. Which work is subtitled A Trivial Comedy for Serious People? Which work is subtitled A Trivial Comedy for Serious People? The Importance of Being Earnest. The Importance of Being Earnest. Okay. W.B. Yeats was born in which year? W.B. Yeats was born in which year? 1865. 1865. And the Abbey Theatre was founded in which year? The Abbey Theatre was founded in 1899. 1899. Who wrote the Symbolist movement in literature? Who wrote the Symbolist movement in literature? That's a work by Arthur Symons. Arthur Symons. Okay? All right. All right. Next, I'm going to tell you the names of some works. Okay? And you tell me the years. Ready? I'm telling you the names of some works. You tell me the years. Heart of Darkness. Heart of Darkness was published in Heart of Darkness. It was originally published in 1899. 1899. 1899. Lord Jim was published in Lord Jim was originally published in 1900. 1900. Nostromo was published in Nostromo was published in 1904. 1904. What's the subtitle of Nostromo? What's the subtitle of Nostromo? Correct. A Tale of the Seaboard. A Tale of the Seaboard. The Secret Agent. A Simple Tale. That's also a novel by Joseph Conrad. It was published in which year? Correct. It was published in 1907. 1907. Is it an example of spy fiction? The Secret Agent. Is it an example of spy fiction? Correct. Correct. Which was the debut novel of Conrad? Which was the debut novel of Conrad? Almayer's Folly. Almayer's Folly was the debut novel of Conrad. Debut novel of Conrad. Okay? Right? Okay. The Time Machine, The War of the Worlds, The Island of Dr. Moreau, The Invisible Man, all these are major works of science fiction by H.G. Wells. H.G. Wells. Right? H.G. Wells. H.G. Wells was born in which year? They asked almost 2 years back the birth years of these authors. Tell me, H.G. Wells was born in which year? Correct. 1866. 1866. Which is a New Woman novel by H.G. Wells? Anne Veronica. Anne Veronica. Who coined the phrase New Woman? Who coined the phrase New Woman? Sarah Grand. Sarah Grand coined the phrase New Woman. New Woman. Okay? Chalo. Next question. Tell me. The Silver Box. What is it? What type of work is it by John Galsworthy? What type of work is it by John Galsworthy? It's a play. It's a play. The Silver Box. It's a play. The Man of Property. It was published in which year? The Man of Property. It was published in which year? 1906. 1906. Okay. I'm telling you about a work. You tell me which work I am describing to you. I'm telling you about a work. You tell me which work is it. This play opens in the offices of James Howe and Sons solicitors. A young woman appears at the door with children in tow, asking to see the junior clerk William Falder on a personal matter. This is how a work opens. Which work is it? It is Justice. Justice, a play by John Galsworthy. Justice, a play by John Galsworthy. Okay. Kipling got the Nobel Prize in which year? Kipling got the Nobel Prize in which year? 1907. 1907. He wrote a Rikki Tikki Tavi. Is that true? He wrote a Rikki Tikki Tavi. Yes, it's a short story by Kipling. It's a short story by Kipling. Correct? Okay. Okay. Who coined the phrase Victorian compromise? It is by G.K. Chesterton. G.K. Chesterton. Which detective character was created by him? Which detective character was created by him? Father Brown. Father Brown. I'm telling you the names of some works. You tell me who wrote them. A Man from the North, Anna of the Five Towns, The Gates of Wrath. All these are works by Arnold Bennett. Arnold Bennett. Who wrote the Fifth Queen trilogy? It's very popular. Who wrote the Fifth Queen trilogy? The Fifth Queen trilogy is by Ford Madox Ford. Ford Madox Ford. We all know that E.M. Forster wrote aspects of the novel. Aspects of the novel. But it was actually a series of lectures delivered where and when. These lectures were delivered at which place and in which year? Yes, it's a series of lectures delivered by Forster at Trinity College, Cambridge in 1927. At Trinity College, Cambridge, 1927. One more question from this. Which are the 7 aspects of novel that he discusses in this work? Which are the 7 aspects of novel which he discusses in this work? Story, characters, plot, fantasy, prophecy, pattern, rhythm. Story, characters, plot, fantasy, prophecy, pattern, rhythm. These are the 7 aspects of novel that he discusses. Okay? Right, right. Okay. Next, tell me. Where angels fear to tread. This title was borrowed by E.M. Forster from which author? He borrowed this title from Alexander Pope. Alexander Pope. Which are the 3 parts of the novel? A Passage to India. A Passage to India. It has a tripartite structure, right? So which are the 3 parts? Temple, mosques, caves, right? Temple, mosques, caves. Correct. Correct. Very good. Next, tell me. Who wrote the autobiography of a super tramp? Very important work. Who wrote the autobiography of a super tramp? That's by W.H. Davies. W.H. Davies. Okay? Right. Correct. Tell me, G.B. Shaw's Pygmalion. It is based on which Shakespearean play? G.B. Shaw's Pygmalion is based on which Shakespearean play? Correct. It is based on The Taming of the Shrew. G.B. Shaw's Pygmalion is based on The Taming of the Shrew. Chronology of G.B. Shaw is very, very important. They keep asking these questions. So let me ask you some years of his plays. Let's start with a very easy play you all know. Pygmalion. Tell me the year of publication of Pygmalion. 1912. 1912. Man and Superman. Man and Superman was first performed in. Man and Superman was first performed 1905. But published 1903. Yes, published 1903. Okay. Mrs. Warren's Profession. Mrs. Warren's Profession, first performance. Mrs. Warren's Profession, first performance. 1902. 1902. Major Barbara, first performance. Major Barbara, first performance. 1905. Very good. 1905. Last question from G.B. Shaw. Arms and the Man. Arms and the Man. First performance in. Very good. It is indeed 1894. 1894. Which play of J.M. Synge led to riots in Ireland? The playboy of the Western world. The playboy of the Western world. Who wrote Juno and the Peacock, The Plough and the Stars, and The Shadow of a Gunman? These three are very important plays by Sean O'Casey. Sean O'Casey. A Rupert Brooke, Siegfried Sassoon, Wilfred Owen, all of them are war poets. True or false? All of them are war poets. True or false? True. True. Satya. Yes, Satya. Right. Okay. Correct. Correct. All of them are war poets. Next, tell me, did Dorothy Richardson employ stream of consciousness in her novels? Yes. Yes. Who coined the phrase stream of consciousness? You all know this. Who coined the phrase stream of consciousness? William James. William James. Correct. Correct. Which work is there which is from the perspective of the Cocker Spaniel of Elizabeth Barrett Browning? Cocker Spaniel of Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Flash a biography. Flash a biography. Virginia Woolf shared the same year of birth with whom? Virginia Woolf shares the same year of birth with James Joyce. James Joyce. Correct. Correct. Mrs. Dalloway is a circadian novel. Is that true? Yes. Circadian means it is set in a singular day, 24 hours. One day, correct. It is indeed a circadian novel. Circadian novel. Mrs. Dalloway was published in 1925. 1925. A Room of One's Own was published in 1929. 1929. To the Lighthouse has a tripartite structure. True or false? To the Lighthouse has a tripartite structure. Yes. Which are the three sections of this novel? Which are the three sections of this novel? Tell me. The Window, Time Passes, and the Lighthouse. The Window, Time Passes, and the Lighthouse. Is time a character in this work? Is time a character in this work? Yes. Yes. Correct. Next, tell me. Orlando, a biography. You all know this work. This was published in 1928. A poem was written by the protagonist here. What was the name of that poem? You tell me. The oak tree. The oak tree. Here, the eponymous hero is born as a male nobleman in England during the reign of whom? He's born as a male nobleman. He's a nobleman during the reign of Queen Elizabeth the First. Queen Elizabeth the First. Okay. Three Guineas is a sequel to. Three Guineas is a sequel to A Room of One's Own. A Room of One's Own. Right? Next, tell me. A portrait of the artist as a young man. It was published in which year? A portrait of the artist as a young man. 1916. 1916. Okay. Who is the protagonist here? Who is the protagonist here? Stephen Dedalus. Stephen Dedalus. Is this a Künstlerroman? Is this a Künstlerroman? Yes, because it documents the development of an artist. It documents the development of an artist. Here, Stephen Dedalus was inspired by the aesthetic theory of Thomas Aquinas. Very good. Thomas Aquinas. Thomas Aquinas. Dubliners is a collection of how many short stories? Dubliners is a collection of 15 short stories. 15 short stories. It was published in 1914. 1914. Okay. Ulysses was partly serialized in which American journal? Ulysses was partly serialized in which American journal? The Little Review. The Little Review. It is set in which day? Ulysses is set in which day? Bloomsday. Tell me which day. Yes. 16th June 1904. 16th June 1904. This work ends with a dash of dash. Ulysses ends with a dash of dash. How does it end? Yes. Monologue of Molly Bloom. Molly Bloom. Correct. The final episode, it consists of Molly Bloom's thoughts as she lies in bed next to her husband. Correct. Correct. Okay. Next, tell me. D.H. Lawrence was born in which year? D.H. Lawrence was born in which year? A very important writer. 1885. 1885. Did he talk about the concept of blood consciousness? Did he talk about the concept of blood consciousness? Yes. D.H. Lawrence wrote, Why the Novel Matters. Why the Novel Matters. Is that true? Why the Novel Matters, which argues that the novel is superior literary form because it uniquely captures the holistic, ever-changing essence of man alive. Why the Novel Matters by D.H. Lawrence. Correct. Lady Chatterley's Lover. Did it undergo any trial because of obscenity? Yes. Yes. Lady Chatterley's Lover, published in 1928. 1928. Which work by D.H. Lawrence is a Künstlerroman? Which work by D.H. Lawrence is a Künstlerroman? Yes. Which work by D.H. Lawrence is a Künstlerroman? Sons and Lovers. Sons and Lovers. Published in 1913. Published in 1913. What was the working title of Sons and Lovers? Working title of Sons and Lovers? Paul Morel. Paul Morel. Okay. Yes. So it talks about the coal miners. Is it true? Is it true? Yes. Yes. Correct. Next, tell me, Women in Love was published in Women in Love, 1920. 1920. Do you find this idea of middle class morality in the novels of D.H. Lawrence? Middle class morality? Yes. Is it because D.H. Lawrence's mother was a middle class woman who believed in this? Yes. Yes. Correct. Sons and Lovers, 1913. The Rainbow, just 2 years after. Which year? 1915. 1915. Lulu. Is Lulu a dog in any of these novels? Lulu. Which novel? Lulu is a dog in which novel? Yes. Yes. And what was the name of the rabbit? What was the name of the rabbit? Correct. Bismarck. Bismarck. Okay. Right, right. Next, tell me, which novel of D.H. Lawrence is set in Mexico? Lulu is in Women in Love. Correct. Lulu is in Women in Love. Yes. Correct. The Plumed Serpent is set in Mexico. The Plumed Serpent is set in Mexico. Mexico. Correct. Correct. The Plumed Serpent is set in Mexico. The Horse Rocking Winner. Is it a novel or a short story by D.H. Lawrence? It's a short story by D.H. Lawrence. Short story. The Fox. Is it a short story or a novel or a novella? The Fox. The Fox is a novella by D.H. Lawrence. The Fox is a novella by D.H. Lawrence. Which was the debut novel of D.H. Lawrence? Debut novel of D.H. Lawrence. The White Peacock. White Peacock. He wrote Order of Chrysanthemums. True or false? Yes. He wrote the short story Order of Chrysanthemums. Order of Chrysanthemums. Okay. Another very important work of D.H. Lawrence is Kangaroo. 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 Set in Australia. It is set in Australia. Kangaroo by D.H. Lawrence is set in Australia. Okay. Correct. Okay. Aldous Huxley wrote Brave New World. Brave New World talks about what? Which makes you forget all your pain and sorrow. What is it? Soma. Soma. Brave New World was published in which year? Brave New World was published in which year? Correct. Brave New World was published in, yes, 1932. 1932. Correct. Which is an autobiographical work by Aldous Huxley, which elaborates on his psychedelic experience under the influence of mescaline. Which is that autobiographical work of Aldous Huxley, which elaborates on his psychedelic experiences under the influence of mescaline. It is The Doors of Perception. The Doors of Perception. It's a very important work. Okay? The Doors of Perception, published in 1954. 1954. Eyeless in Gaza. You all know this title has been borrowed from Eyeless in Gaza. This title has been borrowed from Milton's Samson Agonistes. Milton's Samson Agonistes. Aldous Huxley wrote The Perennial Dash. The Perennial Dash. The Perennial Philosophy. The Perennial Philosophy. He wrote The Art of Seeing. Is that true? The Art of Seeing, an Adventure in Re-Education. Yes, it's a very important work as well. He wrote The Art of Seeing. The Art of Seeing. Okay, right? Correct. Wyndham Lewis was associated with which movement? Wyndham Lewis. vorticism, vorticism. Okay. Now I'm telling you the names of some authors. You tell me they were with which movement. Okay. Ezra Pound, Hilda Doolittle, Richard Aldington, T.E. Hume. They were with Imagism. They were with Imagism. The movement of Imagism started from which university? The movement of Imagism started from which university? University of Pennsylvania. The University of Pennsylvania. Correct. Correct. Did Ezra Pound write Ripostes? Hugh Selwyn Moberly? Yes. These are major works by Ezra Pound. Ezra Pound. The Love Song of Gialfred Prufrock was published in The Love Song of Gialfred Prufrock was published in which magazine? Tell me. The Love Song of Gialfred Prufrock was published in which magazine? Poetry. 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 Yes. The Love Song of Gialfred Prufrock was published in Poetry. And now, Jhat said, tell me the opening lines of it. Openings line of the Love Song of Gialfred Prufrock. Let us go. You, yes, correct. Let us go, then you and I. And please remember, it was published in Poetry, a magazine of verse. It was published in Poetry, a magazine of verse. Okay? Okay? Right. Okay. Next, tell me. Chrome Yellow was the debut novel of? Chrome Yellow was the debut novel of Aldous Huxley. Aldous Huxley. Here, one character was introduced who was later borrowed by T.S. Eliot in the Westland. Madame Sosostris. Madame Sosostris. Correct. Correct. Okay. Next, tell me. W.H. Auden, Cecil Day Lewis, Christopher Esherwood, Louis MacNeice, Stephen Spender, all of them are collectively known as the 30s poets, or the Max Ponde, or the Pink poets, poets of the 30s, Pylon poets. They have so many names, right? Yes. Who among them was the pioneer of the gay liberation movement? Who among them was the pioneer of the gay liberation movement? Christopher Esherwood. Christopher Esherwood was the pioneer of the gay liberation movement. Right? Who wrote works like The Unknown Citizen, September 1, 1939, Musée des Beaux-Arts, In Memory of W.B. Yeats? All these are very important poems by W.H. Auden. W.H. Auden. Yes. What's the name of the memoir of Stephen Spender? What's the name of the memoir of Stephen Spender? World Within World. World Within World. Okay? Correct. Correct. Next, tell me. Lisa of Lambeth was the debut novel of? Lisa of Lambeth was the debut novel of Somerset Maugham. Somerset Maugham. Correct. Who wrote Letters from Iceland, Autumn Journal, Prayer Before Birth, Autumn Sequel? Letters from Iceland, Autumn Journal. All these are works by Louis MacNeice. Louis MacNeice. Especially this question from Autumn Journal is very important. They keep asking this question in various exams. Okay, Autumn Journal. Very, very important work by Louis MacNeice. Louis MacNeice. Okay, right. Next, tell me. The Razor's Age. The Moon and Sixpence of Human Bondage. All these are works by Somerset Maugham. Somerset Maugham. Do we have any disabled character in the novel of Human Bondage? Do we have any disabled character? Yes. In Of Human Bondage. Of Human Bondage. Yes. They keep asking these questions about disabled characters and all. Yes. Philip. Yes, right. That's the name of the protagonist. In Of Human Bondage. Philip, right. Okay. Next. Evelyn Waugh and Graham Greene, both are famous for Catholic novels. True or false? True. Both Evelyn Waugh and Graham Greene are famous for Catholic novels. Catholic novels. Which are the Catholic novels of Graham Greene? Catholic novels of Graham Greene. Brighton Rock, say, Brighton Rock, The Power and the Glory, then The Heart of the Matter, The End of the Affair. The Heart of the Matter, The End of the Affair. Which Bollywood movie is there based on one of these novels? Jab Tak Hai Jaan. Yes. Jab Tak Hai Jaan is based on? Jab Tak Hai Jaan is based on The End of the Affair. The End of the Affair. Okay? Okay? Correct. Okay, right. Next, tell me, who wrote The Lawless Roads, Journey Without Maps, are this by Evelyn Waugh or Graham Greene? Graham Greene. Graham Greene. Tell me, which are the travelogues of D.H. Lawrence? We did not talk about this. Which are the travelogues of D.H. Lawrence? His travelogues are very important. Tell me, which are the travelogues of D.H. Lawrence? Twilight in Italy, Sea and Sardinia, Mornings in Mexico, and Sketches of Etruscan Places. Twilight in Italy, Sea and Sardinia, Mornings in Mexico, Sketches of Etruscan Places. These are the travelogues of D.H. Lawrence. Travelogues of D.H. Lawrence. Okay, will you remember the travelogues of D.H. Lawrence are equally important. Under the Volcano, very important work by Under the Volcano. Malcolm Lowry. Malcolm Lowry wrote Under the Volcano. Under the Volcano. Yes. Next, tell me, who was a polio patient and he wrote about it in the work The Lung? Which work? Which author? The Lung. That's by J.G. Farrell. J.G. Farrell. Farrell also wrote Troubles, The Siege of Krishnapur, The Singapore Grip. Yes? Yes? Okay. Who wrote Portrait of the Artist as a Young Dog? Who wrote Portrait of the Artist as a Young Dog? That's by Dylan Thomas. Dylan Thomas.
Yes. Okay. So we'll start with American literature now for some time. Yes. Okay. Okay. So my first question to you is, how many colonies were established during the colonial period? I'm asking from American literature. How many colonies were established during the colonial period? 13 colonies. That is correct. Yes. Is Virginia one of these colonies? Is Virginia part of the 13 colonies? Yes. Okay. Now tell me, who wrote Studies in Classic American Literature? Studies in Classical American Literature. It was published in 1923. You know this author. Studies in Classic American Literature. He is the one who wrote White Peacock, Sons and Lovers. It is D.H. Lawrence. D.H. Lawrence wrote Studies in Classic American Literature. Okay. Now tell me, the first Puritan colonists who settled in New England are called as what? The first Puritan colonists are known as Pilgrim Fathers. That's correct. Pilgrim Fathers. Okay. Who wrote the famous volume of poetry titled The 10th Muse, lately sprung up in America? It is Anne Bradstreet. Anne Bradstreet. It was published in 1650. It was published in 1650. Okay. Now tell me, which periodical influenced Benjamin Franklin? It is a very familiar periodical. This particular periodical influenced Benjamin Franklin. Which one is it? You would tell me if I tell you the people associated with it. Addison and Steele. It is the periodical associated with Edison and Steele. It is Spectator. It is Spectator. Spectator influenced Benjamin Franklin as well. Okay. Now tell me, when was Common Sense published? Common Sense was published in Common Sense was published in 1776. Yes. 1776. Who wrote Common Sense? Who wrote Common Sense? Thomas Paine wrote Common Sense. Correct. Okay. Who wrote The American Soldier? The work titled The American Soldier. He is also known as the poet of the American Revolution. The poet of the American Revolution. He wrote the work The American Soldier. Who is it? It is Philip Freneau. It is Philip Freneau. Okay, The American Soldier is a work of Philip Freneau. Who wrote The American Scholar? The American Scholar. He's a transcendental writer. The American Scholar is a work of... Is it Whitman or Emerson? American Scholar is a work of Emerson. American Scholar is a work of Emerson. American Soldier is a work of Philip Freneau. He's also the poet of the American Revolution. Yes, okay. Who is known for the Leather Stocking Tales, which has 5 novels in it, which has the character Natty Bumbo in it? It is James Fenimore Cooper. James Fenimore Cooper wrote the Leather Stocking Tales, which has 5 novels. It introduces the character Natty Bumbo, which is a famous character. Okay. Now tell me, when was The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn published? Huckleberry Finn was published in 1884. 1884. Great Gatsby was published in 1925. 1925 is also the year of publication of 1925 is also the year of publication of Mrs. Dalloway. Yes, Mrs. Dalloway was also in 1925. Who wrote The Great Gatsby? Who wrote The Great Gatsby? It is F. Scott Fitzgerald. Who wrote An American Tragedy? An American Tragedy. An American Tragedy is a work of Theodore Dreiser. Theodore Dreiser. When was Death of a Salesman published? Death of a Salesman was published in 1949. Which popular famous novel was published in 1949? It is not American. Which famous novel was published in 1949? It is by George Orwell. George Orwell published 1984 in 1949. Yes, correct. Death of a Salesman was also published in 1949. Yes. Who wrote it? Who wrote Death of a Salesman? It is Arthur Miller. Arthur Miller. Who wrote Song of Solomon? Who wrote Song of Solomon? It is Toni Morrison. Toni Morrison. Yes. So I mentioned a few works now. The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, The Great Gatsby, An American Tragedy, Death of a Salesman, Song of Solomon. What is common among all these works? What is common about them? All of these works discusses a common theme. What is it? It is the American dream. It is the American dream. That is correct. Okay. Yes. When was gold discovered in California? The famous gold rush of California. When was it? It was in 1848. It was in 1848. 1848. Do we know this year? Do we know the year 1848? Have we heard about it? Did something else happen in 1848? They have a magazine called Germ. It is PRB. The Pre-Raphaelite movement was founded in 1848. Correct. Okay. Is Frederick Douglass a slave writer? Frederick Douglass, is he a slave writer? Yes. Correct. When was the Seneca Falls Convention? When was the Seneca Falls Convention? That was also in 1848. So Seneca Falls Convention was in 1848. PRB movement was founded in 1848. Correct. What else happened in 1848? The gold rush in California was also in 1848. Yes. The Dial is a magazine associated with which movement? The Dial is a magazine associated with which movement? With Transcendentalism. With Transcendentalism. Yes. The Transcendental Club was organized in the year. The Transcendental Club. It was in 1836. 1836. Their official magazine was the Dial. 1803 to 1882 is the timeline of which writer? Which writer? Emerson. We talked about one work of Emerson now. I mentioned a work written by Emerson. Which was it? What was the title? It was American Scholar. Very good. It is American Scholar. When was Nature published? Nature is a prose essay by Emerson. When was it published? In 1836. Yes. There is a metaphor which was developed by Emerson. And this metaphor first appeared in the work Nature. It talks about, the idea of the self as a part of God. What metaphor am I talking about? It is the transparent eyeball. The transparent eyeball. Yes. Now tell me, when was Brahma published? Brahma was published in 1856. Nature was in 1836. Brahma was in 1856. Correct. Okay. Now tell me, the American Scholar was a lecture which was delivered by Emerson. Is that true? Yes, that is true. In 1837. When was Self-Reliance published? When was Self-Reliance published? Self-Reliance came out in 1841. It was in 1841. Yes. In which work did Emerson talk about the phrase, trust thyself? Trust thyself is a famous phrase from which work of Emerson? It is Self-Reliance, which came out in 1841. Which is the other work of Emerson which came out in 1841? 1841, which talks about the soul, which talks about the self. It is the Oversoul. It is the Oversoul. Correct. Now, in a particular work of Emerson, he talks about the role of great men in a social setup, where he talks about people like Plato, Swedenborg, Montaigne, Shakespeare, Napoleon, Goethe. Which work am I talking about? He's talking about these representative men in the work titled Representative Men, which was published in, when was it published? In 1850. How do we know the year 1850? How was it familiar to us? Who died in 1850? Who died in 1850? Wordsworth. Who became the poet laureate in 1850? It is Tennyson. It is Tennyson. Which work of Tennyson came out in 1850? In Memoriam. It is In Memoriam. Yes, correct. Okay. Now tell me. Margaret Fuller is also a transcendental writer. Is that true? Margaret Fuller. Yes. Is Thoreau a part of the transcendental group? Yes. Walden, subtitled Life in the Woods, which is a work of Thoreau, is divided into dash number of chapters. Dash chapters, it has 18 chapters. It has 18 chapters. Paradise to be Regained is a work of Paradise to be Regained is a work of Thoreau. Is it a novel? Is it an essay? What is it? What is the genre? It is an essay by Thoreau. It is an essay written in the form of a review by Thoreau. It came out in 1843. When was Civil Disobedience published? When was Civil Disobedience published? In 1849. Which two works of Emerson came out in 1841? Which two works were published in 1841? Emerson's works, Over Soul and Self-Reliance. Over Soul and Self-Reliance. Correct. Okay. Now tell me, who wrote Leaves of Grass? Who wrote Leaves of Grass? Walt Whitman. When was it published? Leaves of Grass is a usual question in net exams. It was published in 1855. The title Leaves of Grass is taken from which work of Emerson? The title Leaves of Grass is taken from the essay titled The Poet. The Poet. Yes, correct. Okay. When Lilacs Last in the Dooryard Bloomed is a work written in commemoration of whom? Abraham Lincoln. That is correct. Abraham Lincoln. Yes. Who wrote works like Song of Myself, Out of the Cradle, Endlessly Rocking? These are all works of Walt Whitman. Yes. 1819 to 1892 is the timeline of which writer? 1819 to 1892 is the timeline of Walt Whitman. Yes, Walt Whitman. Who wrote the poem Passage to India? Who wrote the poem titled Passage to India? That is Walt Whitman. Who wrote the novel titled Passage to India? It is E.M. Forster. E.M. Forster. Yes, correct. Okay. Now tell me, I will give you some clues. You tell me who the author is. His timeline is from 1804 to 1864. His first novel is Fanshavi. He published novels in 1850, in 1851. His final novel is The Marble Faun. The Marble Faun. Who am I talking about? It is Nathaniel Hawthorne. Nathaniel Hawthorne. When was the Scarlet Letter published? When was the Scarlet Letter published? In 1850. In 1850. The House of the Seven Gables. The House of the Seven Gables, 1851. The Blethdale Romance. The Blethdale Romance came out in 1852. 1852, yes. Which is the final novel of Hawthorne? The final novel of Hawthorne? It is The Marble Faun. The Marble Faun. Which is this famous short story of Nathaniel Hawthorne where there is a scientist who wants to remove a mark from his wife's face. It is the birthmark. The birthmark. Correct. Dimmesdale is a character from Dimmesdale, Pearl. These are all characters from the Scarlet Letter. From the Scarlet Letter, yes. Who wrote the onomatopic poem titled The Bells? The Bells is an onomatopic poem written by. He wrote Two Signs to Helen, The Raven. These are all poems of Edgar Allan Poe. Yes. The Raven was first published in which magazine? The Raven was first published in New York Evening Mirror. New York Evening Mirror. Yes. Okay. He wrote a work, Edgar Allan Poe wrote a work in reaction to California Gold Rush. Which work is it? You can guess the title. It is about the gold rush. It is El Dorado. El Dorado was published in 1849. Correct. Okay. Now tell me. Who is known as the Nun of Amherst? Who is known as the Nun of Amherst? It is Emily Dickinson. It is Emily Dickinson. Yes. Parting is all we know of heaven and all we need of hell. These are the closing lines of which poem of Emily Dickinson? Parting is all we know of heaven and all we need of hell. These are the closing lines of My life closed twice before its close. My life closed twice before its close. Yes, okay. William Cullen Bryant, John Greenleaf Whittier, H.W. Longfellow. These are all writers in which group? William Cullen Bryant, John Greenleaf Whittier, H.W. Longfellow are all known as the Brahmin poets or fireside poets. Brahmin poets or fireside poets. Correct. Okay. Who wrote the Song of Hayavada? The Song of Hayavada. It is H.W. Longfellow. H.W. Longfellow. Samuel Langhorne Clemens is the real name of Mark Twain. This is Mark Twain. Correct. Okay. When was The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn published? Huckleberry Finn was published in 1885. 1885. Yes. Correct. Okay. Now tell me, who wrote the work titled The Gilded Age? The Gilded Age. It is Mark Twain. It was published in 1873. 1873. Who wrote short stories like The Last Leaf, The Gift of the Magi, The Newspaper, The Romance of Busy Brocker? These are all short stories of O. Henry. O. Henry. William Sidney Potter is the real name of O. Henry. Yes, okay. Now tell me, Scarlett O'Hara is a character in which work? Gone with the Wind. Who wrote Gone with the Wind? Who wrote Gone with the Wind? It is Margaret Mitchell. Margaret Mitchell. Yes. When was Gone with the Wind published? Gone with the Wind was published in 1936. 1936. When was Nature published? You remember Emerson's Nature? When was it published? In 1836. In 1836. Yes, correct. Okay. Now, who wrote the novel The Awakening? The Awakening. It is Kate Chopin. It is Kate Chopin. Okay. Who wrote The Yellow Wallpaper, which is a semi-autobiographical story? It is Charlotte Perkins Gilman. Charlotte Perkins Gilman. Yes. Now tell me, who wrote the Priory Trilogy? Who wrote the Priory Trilogy? It is Willa Cather. It is Willa Cather. Where do we have the protagonist Buck? This is a novel published in 1903. It is it is The Call of the Wild. Who wrote Call of the Wild? Who wrote Call of the Wild? It is Jack London. It is Jack London. Yes. Who wrote The Jungle? The Jungle is such a popular work. Who wrote The Jungle? It is a classic work of Upton Sinclair. Upton Sinclair. It came out in 1906. 1906. Langston Hughes is associated with which movement? Langston Hughes is associated with Harlem Renaissance. Harlem Renaissance. Yes. Okay. Now tell me, whose first volume of poetry is titled A Lume Spento? A Lume Spento. He was a friend of T.S. Eliot. He edited Wasteland. Who is it? It is Ezra Pound. It is Ezra Pound. Correct. Okay. Now, is Hilda Doolittle a part of the Imagist movement? Yes. Is T.E. Hulme a part of the Imagist movement? Yes. Correct. Okay. Now tell me, when was The Great Gatsby published? The Great Gatsby was published in 1925. 1925. Who wrote the USA trilogy? Who wrote the USA trilogy? It is John Dos Passos. John Dos Passos. Correct. When was Desire Under the Elms published? Desire Under the Elms was published in, it is a work of Eugene O'Neill. When was it published? In 1924. In 1924. Yes, okay. Morning Becomes Electra adapts the Greek tragic myth of which character? Morning Becomes Electra. It is about Orestes. It is about Orestes from Greek mythology. Orestes. Yes, correct. Okay. Who wrote Waiting for Lefty? Waiting for Lefty, the work titled Waiting for Lefty? Waiting for Lefty was performed in 1935. It is a work of Clifford Odets. Clifford Odets. Correct. Clifford Odets. Now tell me, who wrote works like Absalom, Absalom, As I Lay Dying, The Sound and the Fury? These are all works of William Faulkner. William Faulkner. Yes. The Sound and the Fury is referred to in which work of Shakespeare? Yes, in Macbeth. Macbeth, that is correct. Okay. Who wrote The Adding Machine, which is an experimental work, The Adding Machine? Who wrote this work, The Adding Machine? It is Elmer Rice. Elmer Rice wrote The Adding Machine in 1923. 1923, yes. Okay. Who said a rose is a rose is a rose is a rose? Who said it? It is Gertrude Stein. It is Gertrude Stein. Who wrote poems like The Road Not Taken, Mending Wall, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening? These are all poems of Robert Frost. Yes, correct. Now, who won the Pulitzer Prize in 1955? Who won the Pulitzer Prize in 1955? It is Wallace Stevens. It is Wallace Stevens. Yes, correct. Last question. Who wrote the work The Well-Wrought Urn? The Well-Wrought Urn is a work of Cleance Brooks. It is a work of Cleance Brooks. Yes. Okay. So, are you able to remember the answers? Is it getting better? Do you feel confident? Yes? Okay. Okay. So, I hope Sethu ma'am is here. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Hope you all are. Good evening. Yeah. Yes. Hope you all are enjoying our marathon and hope you all are able to answer these questions. And yes. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Yes. Okay, so shall we continue? Yes. Okay. So, yeah, this is my first question. Who wrote A Supermarket in California? Who wrote A Supermarket in California? There, the poet who has a vision of Walt Whitman, and he was reading Walt Whitman during that time. And remember, he was a 1950s poet, and yes, very good. Allen Ginsberg, yes, Allen Ginsberg. Yes, Allen Ginsberg. And remember, there you can see how the speaker, he asked philosophical questions to Walt Whitman. And it is part of which poetry collection? This particular poem, A Supermarket in California, that is part of which poetry collection? Remember the poetry collection? It is part of a major poetry collection by Allen Ginsberg. A Supermarket in California, America, a Sunflower Sutra. These are all part of which poetry collection? Howl and Other Poems. And can you remember the year of publication of Howl and Other Poems? Very good. Yes, 1956. 1956. Yes, 1956. Very good. Yes. And who wrote the poetry collection, the Maximus Poems? Who wrote the poetry collection, the Maximus Poems, that can be considered as a representative example of projective poetics? Remember what is projective poetry? Projective poetry, that is again an open form of writing. Remember, again a poetry that is again a form of, according to the writer, he believed that again a poetry that is again a form of energy transferred from where the poet to the reader. Remember who wrote this poetry collection, the Maximus Poems? He influenced the Black Mountain writers. Charles Olson. Remember Charles Olson? Yes, Maximus Poems by Charles Olson. Very good. Charles Olson, yes. Charles Olson, yes. Maximus Poems, yes. Who wrote Naked Lunch? Who wrote Naked Lunch? There the narrator is William Lee. Remember? The character can be considered as the alter ego of the writer. Exterminator, The Wild Boys, The Book of the Dead. These are all his works, remember? William S. Burroughs, very good. William S. Burroughs, yes. William S. Burroughs, yes. And who coined the term Beat Generation? Who coined the term Beat Generation? These writers, William S. Burroughs, Allen Ginsberg, they were all important 1950s poets, yes. Herbert Huncke, yes. Herbert Huncke, very good. Herbert Huncke, yes. Who coined this term? Beat Generation. Beat Generation. Yes, Beat Generation. Who wrote Life Studies? Who wrote Life Studies? Who wrote Life Studies that can be considered as a highly personalized account that laid the foundation of confessional poetry? Remember? Robert Lowell, very good. Robert Lowell. Yes, Robert Lowell, who wrote Life Studies, very good. And in which year he won the Pulitzer Prize? Can you remember the year in which he won the Pulitzer Prize? The year in which he won the Pulitzer Prize? 1947, very good. 1947. 1947, yes. And can you remember the name of an elegy written by Anne Sexton? Anne Sexton, again, she was also a confessional poet. Anne Sexton, about the death of Sylvia Plath. Can you remember the elegy written by Anne Sexton on account of the death of Sylvia Plath? Remember? Very good. Sylvia's death. Yes, Sylvia's death. Yes. And for which work did she won the Pulitzer Prize in 1967? Anne Sexton, she won the Pulitzer Prize in the year 1967. For which work? Yes. For Live or Die. Yes. Live or Die. For which she won the Pulitzer Prize. And who is the author of the Death Notebooks? The Death Notebooks. Anne Sexton, yes. Which poem begins with these lines? I have done it again. 1 year in every 10, I manage it. Can you remember the poem that begins with these lines? Is it Lady Lazarus or Ariel? Very good. Lady Lazarus. Yes, I have done it again. 1 year in every 10, I manage it. Yes. Very good. Who wrote the essay Compulsory Heterosexuality and Lesbian Existence? Who wrote the essay Compulsory Heterosexuality and Lesbian Existence? Adrian Rich. And that is part of which book? That is part of, can you remember essay collection that is part of a book. What is the title of the book? Blood, Bread and Poetry. Very good. Blood, bread and Poetry. Yes. Yes. And which is the only collection of Sylvia Plath's poetry published in her lifetime? Which is the only collection published in her lifetime? Colossus and other poems. Yes, Colossus and other poems that got published during her lifetime. Very good. And when was the collection Ariel published? Again, that is a posthumously published collection. So can you remember the year? You can associate it with another major confessional poet, Kamala Das. Her first poetry collection, Summer in Calcutta, that also got published in the year 1965. Yes. And Ariel got published. That is again a posthumously published work by Sylvia Plath that got published in the year 1965. Very good. Yes. And the bell jar, it's written under the pseudonym. The Bell Jar, that is the only novel written by Sylvia Plath, written under the pseudonym Victoria Lucas. Yes, Victoria Lucas. And it opens in the city of, the Bell Jar, it opens in the city of, is it New York or is it California? Remember? New York. Yes. Yes. New York. Yes. And can you remember the name of the central character? Can you remember the name of the central character in Bell Jar? Esther Greenwood. Very good. Esther Greenwood. Yes. Esther Greenwood. Very good. Who wrote? Charlie Citron is the narrator in which work? Charlie Citron is the narrator. That is again a Pulitzer Prize winning novel. Remember, again a major work by YouTube babies. Are you able to answer this question? Charlie Citron. Remember Humboldt's Gift by Saul Bellow. Yeah, who is the narrator in Humboldt's Gift? Yes. Remember Charlie Citron. Yes. Who wrote? Yes. Which Jewish short story writer won the 1966 Pulitzer for The Fixer? Remember, The Fixer, that is a work by? Who wrote The Fixer? The Fixer by? Very good. Bernard Malamud. Yes. Bernard Malamud. Yes. Yes. Who wrote the short story Goodbye Columbus? Who wrote the short story Goodbye Columbus? Who wrote the short story Goodbye Columbus? Remember? Yeah. I can give you a clue. He wrote American Pastoral. So, who wrote the short story Goodbye Columbus? Philip Roth. Very good. Philip Roth. I'm an American, Chicago born. This is the opening line of which work? I'm an American, Chicago born. This is the opening line of which work? Remember? Remember? The Adventures of Augie Marsh. Remember Adventures of Augie Marsh? Yes. And the novel begins with these lines. I'm an American, Chicago born. Yes. Who is the author of Night Trilogy? Who is the author of Night Trilogy? Night Trilogy. Who wrote Night Trilogy? Remember? Night Trilogy by Elie Wiesel. Yes. Yes. Elie Wiesel. Yes. Yes. Which is Sylvia Plath's poem about her mother, where motherhood is symbolically represented as jellyfish. Can you remember this work? There is a poem written by her about her mother, where motherhood is symbolically represented as jellyfish. Remember the poem? Remember the poem? Is it Mary's Song or Medusa? Yes, Medusa. Very good. Medusa. Yes. Can you remember the year of publication of this Holocaust novel, Sophie's Choice? Sophie's Choice. Remember? Sophie's Choice. Can you remember the year of publication? 1 year after Orientalism got published. So which year? 1979. Very good. 1979. Yes. 1979. And in which year was the Catcher in the Rye got published? Catcher in the Rye. Remember Catcher in the Rye? The same year in which Autobiography of an Unknown Indian got published. So which year? Yes. 1951. 1951. Yes. 1951. How many days are depicted in The Catcher in the Rye? Can you remember? How many days are depicted? It's the plot of the novel. It's over the course of how many days? 3 days. Very good. 3 days. Yes. And in which year was To Kill a Mockingbird got published? To Kill a Mockingbird that got published in which year? To Kill a Mockingbird. 1960. 1916. And can you remember what is the sequel to Kill a Mockingbird that got published in 2015? Remember? Go Set a Watchman. Very good. Go Set a Watchman. That is the sequel to Kill a Mockingbird. Yes. Lawyers, I suppose, were children once. That is the epigraph. That is the epigraph of which work? Lawyers, I suppose, were children once. That is again a line from Charles Lamb's essay. Can you remember this work? It got published in the year 1960. It is again a Bildungsroman. And the sequel to this work is To Go Set a Watchman. Yes, To Kill a Mockingbird. To Kill a Mockingbird. Yes. Which feminist critic critiqued The Naked and the Dead? Norman Mailer's Naked and the Dead. Can you remember the feminist critic who criticized this work in Sexual Politics? So which critic? Kate Millett. Very good. Kate Millett. Yes. Yes. Who wrote Scarlet Letter Trilogy? Who wrote Scarlet Letter Trilogy? That is again a trilogy of novels on suburban adultery. Is it Philip Roth or John Updike? Remember? Yes, John Updike. Yes. Are you able to answer these questions, everybody? Are you able to answer these questions? Are you able to remember these questions? Yes. Okay. So, which writer can be called as the father of science fiction who coined the term science fiction? Remember, the writer who has been regarded as the father of science fiction and who coined this term science fiction? Who coined the term science fiction? Is it H.G. Wells? Or who coined this term science fiction? Remember? Very good. Hugo? Yes. Hugo Gernsback. Yes. Hugo Gernsback. Very good. And which 1818 novel is considered the first true novel of science fiction? Remember? 1880 novel, it is subtitled The Modern Prometheus. Frankenstein. Frankenstein. Yes. In science fiction, what is the importance of stories? What is the importance of amazing stories? That is again a title. What is the importance of amazing stories?
Okay, I found this on the web. In
Yes.
science fiction, what is the importance of amazing stories? What is the importance of amazing stories? Check it out.
Yeah. What is it? It is the first magazine. Okay, it is the first magazine dedicated to science fiction stories. Please remember these magazines and journals. So remember, amazing stories, that is again associated with science fiction, that is dedicated to science fiction stories. Yes. Who is the author of the short story collection called The Martian Chronicles? Remember, Martian Chronicles. Martian Chronicles. Who wrote Martian Chronicles? Is it Isaac Asimov or Ray Bradbury? Who wrote Martian Chronicles? Yes, Ray Bradbury. Very good. Ray Bradbury. Yes. The Sprawl Trilogy, Bridge Trilogy. Who wrote these trilogies? Who wrote Neuromancer? Who wrote these trilogies? Can you remember? The Sprawl trilogy, Bridge trilogy, Neuromancer. So who wrote these trilogies? William Gibson. Yes. William Gibson. Yes. Which novel by Stephen King is set in the historic Overlook Hotel? That is again a famous setting of Stephen King's work. Can you remember this work? Yes. I'm sure there are, there are fans of Stephen King here. So which novel by Stephen King is set in the historic Overlook Hotel? The Shining. Very good. Shining. Yes. Henry Dorset Case, who's a hacker, is a central character in which work? Henry Dorset Case. Remember, who's a hacker is a central character in which work? I mentioned this work now. William Gibson's major work. Remember? Neuromancer. Very good. Neuromancer. Yes, Neuromancer. Can you remember the year of publication of Native Son? That's again a PYQ. Native Son. Richard Wright's Native Son that got published in the year 1940. 1940. Yes, 1940. 1940. Yes. All God's Children Need Traveling Shoes is a part of 7-volume autobiography of Maya Angelou. Is it right? Is it true? Or is it false? All God's Children Need Traveling Shoes. That is part of the 7-volume autobiography. Yes, it is true. Yes, it is true. Yes. John Grimace is the central character in which work? John Grimace is the central character in which work? Remember John Grimace, who's a 14-year-old boy, who's a character in which work? Remember? The title has mountain in it. So can you remember the work? Go Tell It on the Mountain. Remember who wrote Go Tell It on the Mountain? Who wrote Go Tell It on the Mountain? Yes. Baldwin. Yes. Yes. Okay. Which is the generational saga of a family written by Alex Haley that won the Pulitzer Prize? That is again about generations of African American history. And remember, Alex Haley, he won the Pulitzer Prize for a major work. Roots, yes. For Roots, yes. Very good. For Roots, yes. Who wrote Black Boy? Who wrote White Man Listen? These are all works written by Native Son. Black Boy, White Man Listen. These are all works by? Who wrote these novels? Richard Wright. Yes, Richard Wright. Yes. Who is the director of the movie Color Purple? Who is the director of the movie Color Purple? Who directed this movie? Remember? Steven Spielberg. Yes, Steven Spielberg, who directed this movie Color Purple. It has been adapted into a movie, and yeah. Yes. Can you remember the two central characters in the play Dutchman? Can you remember the two central characters in the play Dutchman? Remember Amri Baraka's Dutchman? Can you remember the name of these two central characters? Lula and which is the other character? Which is the other character? Clay and Lula. Remember? Clay and Lula. These are two central characters in the play Dutchman by Amri Baraka. Yes, Amri Baraka. Amri Baraka. Who is the narrator of the Blue West Eye? Who is the narrator of the Blue West Eye? Who is the narrator? The Blue West Eye. Claudia. Claudia. Remember Claudia? Claudia is the narrator. Yes, Claudia is the narrator. And the four sections of the novel that follow, is it 4 seasons or 4 humors? What could be the answer? The 4 sections of the novel Blue West Style that follow the 4 seasons. Yes, that follow the, yes, 4 seasons. Very good. Yes, that follow the 4 seasons. Who wrote this love poem? I wrote a good omelette. I wrote a good omelette. That is the love poem by? Who wrote this poem? Remember? Who wrote this poem? Who wrote this poem? Remember? Is it Toni Morrison or is it Nikki Giovanni? Remember Nikki Giovanni or Toni Morrison? Who wrote this poem? Yes. Very good. Nikki Giovanni. Very good. And who wrote Possessing the Secret of Joy? Possessing the Secret of Joy. Who wrote Possessing the Secret of Joy? Possessing the Secret of Joy. In Search of Her Mother's Gardens. These are all works by Color Purple. Alice Walker. Alice Walker. Can you remember the subtitle of In Search of Her Mother's Gardens? In Search of Her Mother's Gardens, there she coined this term womanism. Can you remember the subtitle? That is again a PYQ. Remember? Womanist prose. Very good. Womanist prose. Yes. Womanist prose. Very good. Yes. Who wrote New York Trilogy? Who wrote New York Trilogy? Remember? Contemporary writer who wrote New York Trilogy? City of Glass, Ghost, and The Locked Room. These are 3 works which are part of New York Trilogy. Can you remember? Paul Auster. Remember? Yes. Yes. Paul Auster who wrote New York Trilogy. New York Trilogy. Yes. Who is the author of this young adult dystopian series called The Hunger Games? Hunger Games. Remember, that is again a dystopian work, dystopian series, Hunger Games. That is by? Yes. Very good. Suzanne Collins. Suzanne Collins. Yes. Suzanne Collins. Very good. Which novel by Elizabeth Gilbert is about a woman's journey through India and Indonesia? Remember? Julia Roberts famously acted in this movie. And Elizabeth Gilbert wrote this work. I'm sure you know this work. Eat, Pray, Love. Remember Eat, Pray, Love? Yes. Eat, Pray, Love. One woman search for everything across Italy, India, and Indonesia. Yes. Eat, Pray, Love. Yes. Can you remember the year associated with the publication of Second Sex? Second Sex, originally written in French language, that got published in which year? That got published in which year? 20 years after A Room of One's Own. 1949. Yes. And who wrote Feminist Theory from Margin to Center? Feminist Theory from Margin to Center. Is it Gloria Jean Watkins or Bell Hooks who wrote this work, Feminist Theory from Margin to Center? What is the real name of Bell Hooks? What is the original name? Bell Hooks, that is the pseudonym. Gloria Jean Watkins. Very good. Yes. And remember, she wrote Feminist Theory from Margin to Center. That is again a major work written by Bell Hooks. Yes. Who wrote these essays? Against Interpretation, Notes on Camp, on Photography, and yesterday we discussed a work which is again a major work on medical humanities, Illness as Metaphor. Can you remember the writer? Susan Sontag. Yes. Yes. Can you remember the subtitle of Gender Trouble? Judith Butler's Gender Trouble. Judith Butler's Gender Trouble. There she discussed about performativity. Remember? What is its subtitle? Feminism and the subversion of identity. Yes, feminism and the subversion of identity. That is the subtitle of Judith Butler's Gender Trouble. Yes, John Lennon was part of which group? John Lennon, remember, an important countercultural group. I'm sure you know the answer. Is it? Yes, Beatles. Yes, Beatles. Yes, Beatles. Who is the author of the 1969 book, The Making of a Counterculture? The Making of Counterculture. Can you remember this author who wrote The Making of a Counterculture? Yes. Is it Paul Thompson or Theodore Roszak? Yes, Theodore Roszak. Yes. Very good. Who wrote experimental novels such as Trout Fishing in America and Watermelon Sugar? These are all experimental novels, and that's written by there. He experimented with the narrative technique and with themes as well. Can you remember the writer who wrote these novels? Richard Brautigan. Yes, yes, Richard Brautigan. Who wrote a collection of stories titled Arranged Marriage? Arranged Marriage. That is a short story collection by Indian American writer who wrote Mistress of Spices, who wrote, yeah, One Amazing Thing, Rani, yes, Forest of Enchantment, yes, by Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni, yes, Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni. Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni. From whose perspective was the Palace of Illusions told? From whose perspective is the Palace of Illusions told? Remember, Draupadi. Yes, Draupadi. Okay. Who wrote Taj Mahal trilogy? Who wrote Taj Mahal trilogy? Who wrote Taj Mahal trilogy? Remember the writer who wrote Taj Mahal trilogy? That is again a famous trilogy by Indu Sundareshan. Very good. Indu Sundareshan. Yes. Indu Sundareshan. In the namesake. Who wrote namesake? Who wrote namesake? I'm sure you know the answer. Yes, Jumpalari. And in the namesake, which character finally comes to terms with his Indian identity? Remember? Gogol. Yes, Gogol. Yes, Gogol. Yeah. And here's the last question from American literature. Who wrote this non-fictional collection, Playing in the Dark, Whiteness and the Literary Imagination? Playing in the Dark, Whiteness and Literary Imagination. Who wrote this non-fictional collection? Remember, Playing in the Dark, Whiteness and Literary Imagination. There is again another major essay collection by her, that is What Moves at the Margin Selected Non-Fiction by Toni Morrison. Yes, What Moves at the Margin, that is also a collection of essays and speeches by Toni Morrison. Yes. And who wrote Writing from the Margin and Other Essays? Who wrote Writing from the Margin and Other Essays? Remember? Indian writer. Writing from the Margin and Other Essays. Suddenly we jump to Indian literature. Yes. I can give you a clue, Roots and Shadows. Binding Wine, Roots and Shadows, Listen to Me. Dark Holes No Terror, very good. Shashi Deshpande. Yes. Very good. Okay. I hope you guys are enjoying marathon. YouTube babies, are you there? Are you all enjoying? Are you able to answer these questions? Yes. So let's move on to another topic. Which is the other topic? Which is the topic that we are going to discuss today? European literature. Very good. Yes, European literature. Yes. Okay. Yes. So, shall we begin? Everybody, are you ready with answers? Shall I ask you a question? Okay. So here goes the first question from European. Okay, be ready with answers and yes. Can you remember the philosopher who wrote, German philosopher who authored The World as Will and Representation, and he's very much associated with this philosophical pessimism. Can you remember the writer who wrote World as Will and Representation? And he's associated with pessimism, philosophical pessimism. Arthur Schopenhauer, very good. Arthur Schopenhauer, yes. And he wrote this work, The World as Will and Representation. Yes. Arthur Schopenhauer. Who wrote The Birth of Tragedy? Who wrote Birth of Tragedy? Remember? Who wrote Birth of Tragedy? Nietzsche, yes. Who wrote Birth of Tragedy? Birth of Tragedy, that can be considered as his debut work. Okay, that can be considered as debut work. And Nietzsche, who argues that Greek tragedy declined because of the dominance of which figure? He famously put forth this argument that Greek tragedy declined because of the dominance of which figure who represented rationalism, dialectics, and logical optimism. Can you remember? Is it Socrates or Aristotle? According to him, Nietzsche believed that, yes, Greek tragedy declined because of the dominance of Socrates. Okay, yes. And remember, yes, Socrates. Okay. In which work does Nietzsche introduce the figure of Übermensch, using a prophetic poetic narrative to critique morality, religion, and values? Can you remember the work in which he introduced this concept of Übermensch? Remember Nietzsche's work? Yes. Will to power, and later thus spoke Zarathustra. Yes, thus spoke Zarathustra, in which he famously discussed about this figure of Übermensch. Yes. And and Übermensch represents which ideal central to Nietzsche's philosophy? Self-created values or life affirmation? Yes. Can you remember in which essay he describes, there is again a famous quotation by Nietzsche. He describes truth as a mobile army of metaphors, metonyms, and anthropomorphisms that challenge this idea of objective truth. Can you remember in which work he famously made this statement on truth? Remember, again, a mobile army of metaphors, metonyms, and anthropomorphisms. There he challenged this idea of objective truth on truth and lying in a non-moral sense. That is again a major essay by Nietzsche. Yes. Okay. Name the novel that introduced the motto, all for one and one for all. I'm sure you know this answer, which is again a historical novel set in the 17th century in 5 parts. Yes, very good. The reader meets the heroes, the king's musketeers. Very good. In Three Musketeers, yes, that introduced this motto, all for one and one for all. Very good. And who wrote The Count of Monte Cristo? Who wrote Count of Monte Cristo? Remember, published in the year 1844. Yes, Dumas. And can you remember the setting? It is set in post-Napoleonic era. Yes, post-Napoleonic era. The set during the Bourbon Restoration. Yes, very good. Who famously wrote this verse drama, Cromwell, that tells the stories of Cromwell's internal conflicts in being offered the crown of England. And this work can be considered as a manifesto of the Romantic movement. Can you remember? Yes, Victor Hugo. Very good. That is again a famous verse drama by Victor Hugo. Yes, very good. Yes. Esmeralda is a character in which work? Can you remember? Quasimodo, Esmeralda, these are all characters in? Yes, the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Yes, Hunchback of Notre Dame. Very good. Very good. Who wrote The Red and the Black? Who wrote The Red and the Black? Again, it is written during the July Revolution of 1830. Yes. Can you remember? Stendhal, yes. And what is its subtitle? A Chronicle of 1830. A Chronicle of 1830. That is the subtitle, yes. And it largely describes about the climactic political tension. The climactic political tension that led to this 1830 revolution. And red and black, they are colors associated with army, and black that refers to church as well. So these are symbols associated with, yes. Can you remember the first published novel by Flaubert? Can you remember the first published work by Flaubert? Emma is the central character. Remember? So which work? Emma is the central character. Emma, Charles and Emma. Charles Bovary. Yes. So Madame Bovary. Yes. 1857. Yes. Very good. Yeah. Which prose work by Charles Baudelaire theorizes the modern artist as flaneur? Modern artist as flaneur, who's a detached urban observer who strolls through the modern city and captures fleeting impressions of modern life. There is again a famous prose work by Charles Baudelaire. Can you remember this prose work? Yes. There he theorizes the modern artist as flaneur. Remember? The painter of modern life. Very good. Painter of modern life. Yes, painter of modern life. Yes. Painter of modern life. Very good. Yes. Can you remember the name of this 19th century French literary movement that emerged partly as a reaction against romantic idealism, emphasizing social reality, ordinary life, and objective observation? Can you remember the name of this literary movement? I know you know this answer. What is the name of this literary movement that emerged in France? Is it realism or symbolism? Realism. Very good. Realism. Yes. Realism. Yes. Who wrote the intellectual verse tragedy Brandt? Who wrote this tragedy? Brandt. That is a tragedy written by, that is again the story of a rural pastor. Remember, who wrote this work? Who wrote Doll's House? Who wrote Brandt? Yes, Norwegian playwright. Ibsen, very good. Ibsen. And who wrote Notes for a Modern Tragedy? Who wrote Notes for a Modern Tragedy? Can you remember the writer who wrote? Ibsen. Yes. Yes. There he famously states that a woman cannot be herself in modern society since it is exclusively male society, with laws made by men and with prosecutors and judges who assess feminine conduct. Yes. Very good. Can you remember the name of the central character in Red and the Black, who's an ambitious young man of humble origin, and which is set in post-Napoleonic era? And there he discussed about the hypocrisy of both the church and the aristocracy. Remember Julian? Yes, Julian Sorrel. Yes, very good. Yes. Who wrote Wild Duck? Who wrote Wild Duck? Can you remember who wrote Wild Duck? Yes. And Arthur Miller famously wrote a work based on this particular play, Wild Duck. So which work? Yeah, who wrote? Ibsen. Yes, Ibsen. Very good. Ibsen, who wrote Wild Duck. And can you remember the name of the central character in Master Builder, which is again a drama in 3 acts, and it is again a psychological realist play? Who is a master builder, and he has become a master builder because of a destructive fire on his wife's estate that took the lives of his children, and that incident made him a master builder. Can you remember this central character who's a famous character? Yes, Howard Solness. Very good. Howard Solness, yes. Who wrote Sportsman sketches. Who wrote Sportsman sketches? That is again a collection of short stories by. Who wrote Fathers and Sons? Who wrote? Oh, not the short story Fathers and Sons. Novels Fathers and Sons. Yes. Ivan Turgenev. Yes. The Sportsman sketches. That is again a collection of short stories. And who wrote the novel Fathers and Sons? Who wrote the novel Fathers and Sons? Yes, Ivan Turgenev. And who wrote the short story Fathers and Sons? That is again a famous American short story by. Who wrote For Whom the Bell Tolls, The Sun Also Rises? Yes, Ernest Hemingway. Ernest Hemingway. Very good. Ernest Hemingway. Yes. Which Russian novelist explored guilt, free will, and psychological torment in Crime and Punishment? Raskolnikov is the character, is a famous character created by Dostoevsky. And can you remember the first work written by Dostoevsky? First work written by him? Poor Folk. Very good. That is again a PYQ. Poor Folk. Yes. And who wrote the famous short story Overcoats? Who wrote the famous short story Overcoat? He belonged to this natural school of literary realism. Remember? Yes. Gogol. Yes. And who wrote Dead Souls? That is also a major work written by. That is again a prose novel, which is subtitled a poem. Gogol. Yes. Yes. Which Dostoevsky work directly critiques rational egoism and utilitarian philosophy? There is again a major work by Dostoevsky where he directly critiqued rational egoism and utilitarian philosophy. Remember? Yeah. Notes from Underground. Yes. In Notes from Underground. Yes. And can you remember the character that influenced Raja Rao in writing a work, which is again based on, yes, Possessed. And can you remember the character created by Raja Rao? Comrade Kirillov. Yes, Comrade Kirillov. Very good. Comrade Kirillov. Yes. And can you remember, yeah, who wrote War and Peace? Who wrote War and Peace? Easy question. Yes, Leo Tolstoy. And who wrote this essay, What is Art? Who wrote the essay, What is Art? That is also a major essay by, yes, Leo Tolstoy. Yes, Leo Tolstoy. And in which work the writer introduced the figure of this nihilist character Bazarov? Russian novelist. Yeah. Who introduced this character? Who introduced this famous character Bazarov, who is a nihilist, and through this character, he discussed about this philosophy of nihilism. Yes, in Fathers and Sons. Very good. Fathers and Sons. Yes. Very good. In Fathers and Sons. Yes. Then, who wrote in A Doll's House, which act symbolized a radical challenge to patriarchal marriage and that shocked European audience? Can you remember? There is again a famous episode. There is again a famous episode in that particular play that shocked European audience. Yeah. Yes. Nora leaving her husband and children. That is again a famous, yes. Which Ibsen play explores hereditary disease and moral hypocrisy within respectable bourgeoisie families? Remember? Yes. See, you guys are answering every question. Yes, Ghost. Yes, Ghost. Ghost. Very good. And which play by Chekhov that symbolizes the decline of the Russian aristocracy through the sale of an ancestral property? If I say the name of this ancestral property, it'll be easy, but I know you know the answer. Cherry Orchard. Yes, Cherry Orchard. Very good. Yes, Cherry Orchard. And who wrote Seagull, Vanya? Who wrote Seagull, Uncle Vanya? These are all works written by Anton Chekhov. Anton Chekhov. Yes. Which literary movement associated with Baudelaire and later Mallarmé, Stephen Mallarmé, that emphasized suggestion, symbolism, and musicality? Can you remember the movement associated with Charles Baudelaire and is it symbolism or realism? Very good. Symbolism. Yes. Symbolism. Yes. Very good. Yes. Okay. Which Nietzschean work that distinguishes between master morality and slave morality? That is again a major work by Nietzsche that distinguishes between master morality and slave morality. Can you remember the work on the genealogy of morality? On the genealogy of morality. Yes, on the genealogy of morality. Yes, on the genealogy of morality. Very good. Then, who wrote the novel Idiots? Who wrote the novel Idiots? There you can see it is about the story of the unsettling effects of Prince Mishkin on this aristocratic family. Are you able to remember? The Idiots, Poor Folk, Demons, Brothers Karamazov, these are all works by Dostoevsky. And can you remember the name of the central character in Crime and Punishment? Crime and Punishment. Raskolnikov. Yes, Raskolnikov. Very good. Raskolnikov. And can you remember the name of the theater group associated with Henrik Ibsen? He was associated with a theater group. Can you remember the name of this theater group? Was it Directorate? Can you remember the name of this theater group? Christiania Theater Group. Yes, he was associated with this theater group. Yes, very good. And can you remember the year of performance of Doll's House? Doll's House. Remember the year of performance? 1879. Yes. Is it a 3-act play or 4-act play? Doll's House. Maybe you can get a question like which of the following statements is not true about this particular work? So please remember these details. It is a 3-act play. Very good. It is a 3-act play. Yes. It is a 3-act play. Then, who wrote The Flowers of Evil? Who wrote The Flowers of Evil? Les Fleurs de Mal. Who wrote Charles Baudelaire? Very good. Charles Baudelaire. Yes. Then, who wrote Charterhouse of Parma? Who wrote Charterhouse of Parma? Charterhouse of Parma, that is a work by who wrote Red and the Black? Who wrote Charterhouse of Parma? Stendhal. Very good. Stendhal. Yes. Then, who wrote? Can you remember the year of publication of Communist Manifesto? Communist Manifesto, year of publication? 1848. Very good. 1848. Yes. 1848. 1848. Yes. Then, who wrote the experimental novel? Who wrote the experimental novel? Can you remember the writer who wrote experimental novel? That he developed a parallel between the methods of the novelist and those of the experimental scientist. That is again a major work written by. Can you remember who wrote experimental novel? That is again an essay. Remember? Is it Baudelaire or is it Emily Zola? Emily Zola, yes. 1880. Published in the year 1880. Yes. Remember, there he developed a parallel between the methods of the and those of this experimental scientist. Yes, that is again a major work. And Matilda. Who's a character in which work who borrows a necklace from Madame Forestier? Remember? Remember? Who wrote this famous short story Necklace? I'm sure you must have studied it. Yes. Remember Necklace? Who is the finest short story writer? Yes, Guy de Maupassant. Yes, very good. Guy de Maupassant, who wrote The Necklace. Yes. You two babies, are you able to answer these questions? Yes. Then, who wrote elegies for Charles Baudelaire, Edgar Allan Poe, Paul Verlaine? Remember, he wrote elegies for these famous writers, European writers. Can you remember the writer who famously wrote elegies for Charles Baudelaire, and he was deeply influenced by Charles Baudelaire? Remember the writer? Yes. Stephen Mallarmé. Yes, very good. Stephen Mallarmé. Yes. Then, who wrote A Season in Hell that can be considered as a major symbolist work and one of the finest works in free verse? Who wrote this work? A Season in Hell. A Season in Hell, that is a work by? Yes, Arthur Rimbaud. Yes, very good. Yes. Torvald, Krogstad, Nora, these are all characters in which? Yes, Doll's House. Doll's House. Yes.
Shall I?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So I'm going into the rest of European literature. Thank you, Setu.
Okay.
Guys, we are into the 20th century now. So who in European literature is the author of The Press of Tiresias? He is the father of Cubism. Well, he famously depicted Eiffel Tower, then aeroplanes, urban wastelands. Do you know the author I'm describing? No, listen to this. He is the author of The Breasts of Tiresias. He contributed to aestheticism. He coined the term cubism. Now you know who I am talking about. That is right. It is Guillaume Apollinaire. Guillaume Apollinaire. It is very famous that he depicted in his works Eiffel Tower, aeroplanes. All right. So he is the man who is originally associated with Cubism. He coined the term Cubism in his paintings. He brought about Cubism. He's associated with aestheticism. All right. Now, let me ask you, the author of The Immoralist, The Counterfeiters, The Immoralist, Counterfeiters, the novels, André Gide, G-I-D-E, André Gide. Okay, right. If I say that Jean-Paul Sartre was born in 1905, the same year as Mulkraj Anand, am I right? Jean-Paul Sartre was born in 1905, the same year as Mulkraj Anand is absolutely right. Jean-Paul Sartre is a philosopher of existentialism. He's a he's a major figure in existentialism. The father of existentialism is Soren Kierkegaard. And Jean-Paul Sartre had a live-in relationship with Simone de Beauvoir. Yes, Simone de Beauvoir. Jean-Paul Sartre was attracted by the essay Time and Free Will. Do you know who is the author of Time and Free Will? That man also wrote Creative Evolution. That man also talked about Ellen Whittle. It is Andre Bergson, Henri, Henry Bergson, Andre Bergson. Andre Bergson is the author of Creative Evolution. Time and Free Will. Okay. MOTS or words is the dash of Sartre. It is the autobiography. If I say Caligula is written by, it's a play written by Jean-Paul Sartre. Am I right? No, Caligula is by Albert Camus. Caligula is by Albert Camus. It's a play. Jean-Paul Sartre wrote plays like The Flies. It is based on Orestia. No Exit. Many more are there. Dirty Hands. Plays by Jean-Paul Sartre. Did Jean-Paul Sartre write a collection of works called The Roads to Freedom? The Roads to Freedom, yes. The Age of Reason is a major work in The Roads to Freedom. Did Sartre write a novel called Nausea? Nausea, that one. Nausea. Yes. Jean-Paul Sartre wrote Nausea. He also wrote The Roads to Freedom. Existentialism is about freedom. Remember that. Words or Le Mot is a work by Sartre. It is his autobiography. All right. Who is the Nobel laureate who wrote The Fall, The Rebel, The Outsider or the Stranger, The Plague? Of course, it is Albert Camus. He's also known for The Myth of Sisyphus. It's a 1942 work where he originally talked about absurdism. Absurdism. If I say that Luigi Pirandello is a forerunner of absurdism, am I right? If I say that Luigi Pirandello is a forerunner of absurdism, am I right? Yes, Luigi Pirandello was a forerunner of absurdism. Luigi Pirandello is the author of 6 Characters in Search of an Author. Who created the character Berenger, Berenger, in his absurd plays? It is Eugene Ionesco. Eugene Ionesco. Okay. Did Albert Camus write about the Algerian society? Yes. Albert Camus was born in French Algeria, and he did write about the Algerian society. So what is the play that I said he wrote? It is Caligula, Caligula. Caligula. Okay. Is The Plague about Bernard Roux, Rieux? Yes, the Plague is about the Dr. Bernard Roux. He is discovering a lot of dead rats, and he knows that this means plague, the plague. Very good. So, was Albert Camus an existentialist? Absurdism and existentialism are closely related. Absurdism is what he is primarily, but you can say he is also associated with existentialism. That is not wrong. Okay. Who is the writer of Swann's Way? Swann. Swann's Way. Swann's Way is the first part of In Remembrance of Things Past. Remembrance of Things Past, or In Search of Lost Time. Swann's Way is the first of the 7 parts of In Search of Lost Time, or Remembrance of Things Past. Okay, did Marcel Proust, who wrote Remembrance of Things Past, wrote The Fugitive? Did he write Sodom and Gomorrah? Yes. Marcel Proust, who wrote Remembrance of Things Past, also wrote The Fugitive, Sodom and Gomorrah. If you don't remember, it's okay. He also wrote In the Shadow of Young Girls in Flower. Okay? But remember, the most important is Remembrance of Things Past, In Search of Lost Time. Okay. Did André Breton, Breton, play an important part in Surrealism? Was Surrealism introduced by or initiated by Arthur Rimbaud? Yes, Surrealism was initiated by Arthur Rimbaud. André Breton was a writer, artist, and also filmmaker associated with Surrealism. Actually, André Breton is the father of Surrealism. André Breton is the father of Surrealism. And what is Surrealism? Surrealism is the short form of super realism. Surrealism means super realism. What did Andre Breton write the manifesto of Surrealism? Yes, he did. Did Jean Morias write the Symbolist manifesto? Yes, he did. Did Filippo Marinetti write the Futurist manifesto? Yes, he did. Was Andre Breton associated with Salvador Dali? Yes, Andre Breton and Salvador Dali were both artists associated. They together made the Andalusian Dog, the famous movie Andalusian Dog. Okay, what are the movies? Nosferatu, the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. What are these examples of? These are examples of expressionism. Expressionism. So who wrote The Breasts of Tiresias? He also coined the word cubism. Yes, it is Guillaume Apollinaire. Apollinaire. Was Joseph Brodsky an artist? No. Joseph Brodsky, Anna Akhmatova, they were 20th century poets. They were 20th century poets. Did Thomas Mann write psychological novels? Yes, Thomas Mann wrote psychological novels. Did Luigi Pirandello foreshadow absurdism? Yes, Luigi Pirandello foreshadowed absurdism. Thomas Mann was a psychological novelist like our D.H. Lawrence. In which work did Thomas Mann introduce the concept of leitmotif? Leitmotif is a concept that he introduced in the big book Buddenbrooks. Buddenbrooks, okay? In which work of Thomas Mann do you have the character Aschenbach? Aschenbach. Aschenbach. Yes, that is in Death in Venice. Death in Venice. And what about Hans Castorp? Hans Castorp is in The Magic Mountain. What about Adrian Leverkühn? Adrian Leverkühn, that is the character in Dr. Faustus. Dr. Faustus is a novel by Thomas Mann. Did you know that? Who wrote the play Faust? F-A-U-S-T. It was Goethe. What movement did Goethe inaugurate and introduce to the world? It is Weimar Classicism. Weimar Classicism. All right, let me ask you, who wrote the Confessions of Felix Kroll? The Confessions of Felix Kroll is by Thomas Mann. Thomas Mann. What is the name of the protagonist in The Magic Mountain? It is Hans Castorp. Hans Castorp. Okay, now let me ask you, if I say Thomas Mann wrote Life of Galileo, is it right? Did Thomas Mann write Life of Galileo? Not at all. It is Bertolt Brecht. Is Bertolt Brecht from Germany? Absolutely, he is from Germany. And was Bertolt Brecht associated with communism? Yes, he was associated with communism. And when he was in Hollywood, he was under surveillance of FBI. He was brought under the House of Un-American Activities. All communists were, on the lookout by the police. Right. Which is the play by Bertolt Brecht, where a woman is dressing up as a man to teach people a lesson. A woman is dressing up as a man to teach people a lesson. That is in The Good Person or The Good Woman of Szechuan. The Good Woman of Szechuan. Okay, all of you know which is a play based on Beggar's Opera. It is Three Penny Opera. Three Penny Opera. Did Bertolt Brecht write The Caucasian Chalk Circle? Yes, The Caucasian Chalk Circle. It's about a peasant girl who rescues a baby. And she is a better mother to the baby than the baby's real parents. Than the baby's real parents. Who talked about another baby in the play The Bundle? It is indeed Edward Bond. Edward Bond. So who wrote The Irresistible Rise of Arturo Ui? U-I. The Irresistible Rise of Arturo Ui. That is also Bertolt Brecht, who wrote The Handsomest Drowned Man in the World. The Handsomest Drowned Man in the World was written by the same writer who wrote A Very Old Man with Enormous Wings. He also wrote The Chronicle of Death Foretold. The Chronicle of Death Foretold. It is Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Gabriel Garcia Marquez, who wrote The Resistible Rise of Arturo Ui. Ui, that is Bertolt Brecht. In which play does an old man and an old woman commit suicide at the end? They wanted to give a message to the world. The message to the world is written by somebody else, another character on the screen, on the stage, and that message is in a num, NW, NW, NWV. That means nonsense message. That is a very famous play by UNESCO. What is that play? The Chairs. At the end of the Chairs, there is an old man and an old woman. Both commit suicide. Can I have a drink of water? Who wrote The Broken Water Jug? It is Octavio Paz. Guys, I am using the Literary Master Reference book. This is an amazing, very important book which contains all the 10 units of net in one book. Every important information is here. You should buy this book. It is a very simple, very easy, very inexpensive book that will save your life. So who wrote The Monkey Grammarian? It is Octavio Paz who wrote The Monkey Grammarian, who wrote a play with Anna Fearling as the protagonist. Anna Fearling is the protagonist of Mother Courage and Her Children. Mother Courage and Her Children. Very good. I hope you're learning. And what is the German word for alienation effect? It is Verfremdungseffekt. Verfremdungseffekt. Who wrote Danzig Trilogy? Danzig Trilogy is by Günter Grass. The Tin Drum, Cat and Mouse, and The Dog Years. These are the three plays of Danzig Trilogy. Tin Drum, Cat and Mouse, and Dog Years. Am I boring you? Is this too much information? Are you loving this? Shall I ask you, who wrote Trivia or the Art of Walking the Streets of London? It is a parody of the heroic style. Tell me. That is John Gay. It is not a European writer. I am asking from this Just Read English Literature book, which is a wealth of objective questions and answers. Okay, so who wrote Dog Years? Years. Tin Drum, Cat and Mouse, and Dog Years are Danzig Trilogy by Günter Grass. Now, there is a German writer who wrote The Rings of Saturn. Have you heard of The Rings of Saturn? It is a 1995 novel where a nameless narrator is on a walking tour. He talks about the people he encounters. He talks about history. He talks about various things. Who is the author of The Rings of Saturn? A German writer. He is W.G. Sebald. S-E-B-A-L-D. Sebald. W.G. Sebald. Winfried Georg Sebald or something. He wrote many important works. Austerlitz, very famous. Austerlitz, The Rings of Saturn. Okay. There is one book called The Emigrants, which is the same title as the book by George Lamming. George Lamming also wrote The Emigrants. W.G. Sebald also wrote The Emigrants. In this book, you have similar titles, first lines, subtitles, quotations. By God, this is such an amazing book. So do you know who wrote The Feast of the Goat? The Feast of the Goat is by Mario Vargas Llosa, L-L-O-S-A, Mario Vargas Llosa. Okay, do you know who wrote Mr. President, Banana Trilogy, Men of Maize? Mr. President, Men of Maize, Banana Trilogy. It is Miguel Angel Asturias, Asturias. Forget all that. Many of you might have heard of the movie All Quiet on the Western Front. The movie All Quiet on the Western Front is based on a semi-autobiographical novel. Do you know the German writer who wrote All Quiet on the Western Front? It is based on the First World War. It is Erich Maria Remarque, Remarque. Erich Maria Remarque. All right. Is José Saramago from Portugal? Guys, tell me, is José Saramago from Portugal? You two babies, people in the Zoom babies, everybody. Yes, José Saramago is from Portugal. Okay, let me tell you the titles of works. Tell me if they are by José Saramago. Joyce Saramago. Blindness. Of course, blindness is by Saramago. Is Seeing by Saramago? Yes, Seeing is also by Saramago. Did he write Ways of Seeing? No, that is by John Berger. John Berger wrote, not B-U-R-G-E-R, B-E-R-G-E-R, wrote Seeing, Blindness, Ways of Seeing. Saramago wrote Blindness and Seeing. He also wrote The Gospel According to Jesus Christ, Death with Interruptions. Okay, those are famous. If Gospel According to Jesus Christ, which is a controversial novel by Saramago, is there, then who wrote Last Temptation of Jesus Christ? The Last Temptation of Jesus Christ is by Nikos Kazantzakis. Nikos Kazantzakis. I'm sure you are bored by all these literary writers. Okay, let me ask you about movies. Which is the Italian film movement which depicted the poor people and the working class people? The Italian film movement of the 20th century, mid-20th century. Yes, it is Italian neo-realism. Italian neo-realism. Do you know which movement Jean-Luc Godard, Alain Resnais, R-E-S-N-A-I-S, Agnes Varda, André Bazin, all these people were part of which movement? François Truffaut, Claude Chabrol. Have you heard these names? These are writers or movie makers of French New Wave. French New Wave. If anybody does not know, this is the time. You can look it up. And what is a famous magazine associated with French New Wave? That magazine led it to the foundation of film studies. It is Cahiers du Cinéma. Cahiers du Cinéma. Associated with that, we have auteur theory. A-U-T-E-U-R. Auteur theory. Is that clear, everybody? Okay. Pirandello wrote Meta Theatre. Is it right? Yes. Pirandello used technique of Meta Theatre. Did Pirandello write Henry IV? Henry, H-E-N-R-I, the fourth. Yes, that is by Pirandello. Did Pirandello write Invisible Cities? No. Invisible Cities is by Italo Calvino, the author of If on a Winter's Night a Traveler. Italo Calvino wrote novels, If on a Winter's Night a Traveler, Invisible Cities. Invisible Cities is in the form of a conversation between two travelers. One is Kubla Khan, the other is Marco Polo. Kubla Khan and Marco Polo are speaking to each other. Very crazy book, okay? Which is a short story, famous short story collection by Italo Calvino. Do you know? It is Cosmic Comics. Cosmic Comics. Cosmic Comics. Do you know, did Italo Calvino write Boredom? One novel called Boredom, The Time of Indifference. Did he write Boredom? Did he write The Time of Indifference? No, that is by Alberto Moravia. Italo Calvino did not write that. Alberto Moravia is another Italian writer. Is Umberto Eco an Italian writer? Of course, he is an Italian writer. In 1980, he wrote his first major work. That is The Name of the Rose. The Name of the Rose. Foucault's Pendulum is about a scientific discovery by Michel Foucault. Is it true? No, Foucault's Pendulum is not about Michel Foucault. It's about some other Foucault. Okay, that is just a character. Okay, which of these books did Umberto Eco write? Is it Ur-Hamlet or Ur-Fascism? It is Ur-Fascism. Ur means original. Umberto Eco wrote Ur-Fascism. Okay. Have you watched the movie Pet Cemetery? Some horror movie it is. Pet Cemetery. Like that, what is the novel written by Umberto Eco? Umberto Eco wrote The Prague Cemetery. The Prague Cemetery. Did you know Umberto Eco wrote History of Beauty? History of Beauty. And who wrote Beauty Myth? Beauty Myth is by Naomi Wolf. Naomi Wolf. Okay. Did Umberto Eco write The Unbearable Lightness of Being? Umberto Unbearable. No. Unbearable Lightness of Being is by Milan Kundera. Is Milan Kundera a Czech novelist? Yes. He is from Czechoslovakia, but he wrote in French. Do you know any other Czech writer? Tom Stoppard. Milan Kundera, what are his major works? The Joke, Immortality, The Unbearable Lightness of Being, The Book of Laughter and Forgetting, Laughable Loves, so many. So who wrote Immortality? Immortality is by Milan Kundera. Who wrote Boredom? It is Alberto Moravia. Who wrote The Unbearable Lightness of Being? It is Milan Kundera. And Milan Kundera wrote the Book of Dash and Dash. The Book of Laughter and Forgetting. That reminds me, who wrote the Book Thief? The Book Thief is by Marcus Zusak. Marcus Zusak. It is a Second World War novel. What is the semi-autobiographical First World War novel that we talked about? All Quiet on the Western Front. All Quiet on the Western Front. Who's the author? Remarque. R-E-M-A-R-Q-U-E. Okay. Do you know who wrote Laughable Loves? Laughable Loves. I just mentioned it. Laughable Loves is by Milan Kundera. Who wrote Laughter in the Dark? That man also wrote Pale Fire. It is not actually a novel. It is a poem. But no, that is Pin. P-N-I-N. Pale Fire. Complicated novels. Laughter in the Dark. Yes, it is Vladimir Nabokov, which is Vladimir Nabokov's most famous work. Lolita, 1955. Lolita, 1955. Okay, so who wrote Last Temptation? Last Temptation of Christ? That is Nikos Kazantzakis. Where is he from? Nikos Kazantzakis is from Greece. Did Nikos Kazantzakis write something else that is important? Zorba the Greek. Are you loving European novelists? Are you loving European literature? This is very, very interesting. Very interesting, isn't it? I love it. Okay, so you were already talking about this in the 19th century. The author of Human, All Too Human, The Gay Science, on the Genealogy of Morality. Do you remember? It is Friedrich Nietzsche. Friedrich Nietzsche. His first book is The Birth of Tragedy. The Birth of Tragedy. Nietzsche influenced a lot of European writers. Is it true? Nietzsche influenced a lot of European writers. He also influenced literary theory. So who wrote the massive multi-volume novel Jean Christophe? Jean Christophe is by Romain Rolland. Romain Rolland wrote Jean Christophe. Tristan Tzara is associated with what? Tristan Tzara is the founder of Dadaism. Tristan Tzara, founder of Dadaism. Very good. Are you loving this, guys? Do you know it is almost 10 o'clock? I don't feel like going. It's so interesting to talk about all this new information, to go over it with you, to revise. You will feel very calm in the exam. And when the questions come in the exam, you'll say, yes, I know it. I have seen this before. We did this in revision. You will think like that. What is Tel Quel? Tel Quel is the magazine where Jacques Derrida, Jacques Lacan, etc. contributed. It's also in French, isn't it? Tel Quel. Very good. Now, what is Cahiers du Cinéma? It is the magazine where auteur theory of literary film studies, not literary, film studies came into being, isn't it? Very good. So I think with that, we will slowly come to the end of this session. You have to tell me how much you loved it in the chat box. Is it really, really helping you? Are you feeling more confident? In the remaining days, which is actually 1 or 2 days, you may go through this video again instead of studying on your own. If you go through this video again, you will remember it even more. Okay? So, I just loved it. Thank you guys for being here with us. Study well. We have to really be calm in the exam hall. And if anybody is preparing for the next exam, please buy our books like Literary Master Reference and also join our course if you wish. There are many different courses. Online is there, offline is there, revision course is there. Everything is there for you. Our only and major priority is to help you get an amazing career. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for trusting us. And most importantly, thank you for all the hard work that makes our work meaningful. Thank you, everyone. Good night. I'll end the session now.